good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you want to have a good time, just give me a call.
Good morning. How are you this morning? There is nothing quite like a doTERRA convention, is there? I felt that energy yesterday. It was amazing. Did you feel that? And we're going to match that energy today. We're going to exceed it, aren't we? Yesterday, just by way of a quick recap, David Sterling introduced us to doTERRA's mission, simplified and illuminated. Pursue what's pure. Did you pick up on that? And he explained how we will expand and magnify this mission to do what? To empower others. That's what we do at doTERRA. It's all about empowering others. So, David explained we pursue purity in our products, we pursue purity in our business practices, and we pursue purity in our intentions, which means that we're pursuing purity because, as Dave said, of our love of humanity, right? So thanks, David, for your vision and for your leadership. This will be our messaging as we go forward now, as we continue to differentiate doTERRA from everyone else, and as we share doTERRA with the rest of the world. David mentioned one other thing. He was giving some praise and somewhat of a tribute to Dr. Hill, wasn't he? Oh, he's this great teacher, blah, 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 blah. We love Dr. Hill. His training is so important, so key. And then Dr. Hill comes up and he says, our general counsel, Mark Wolford, asked me not to say these things, but I'm going to say them anyway. I want everyone to understand. You know, Dr. Hill just doesn't listen to me. So when we left stage, here's what happened. We had a few words. You can tell he's really afraid of me, isn't he? So I'm sure in the future, Dr. Hill will toe the line. No, hopefully he doesn't. I will echo David's sentiments. We love Dr. Hill. But for Dr. Hill, I'm not sure doTERRA would be what it is today. So we love and thank Dr. Hill. Okay, can we get started? It's about time, Mark. Okay. Well, so at doTERRA, you know that we all share a passion for education and sharing and giving and serving, for health and for empowering. Speaking of empowerment and service, for those of you who are new to doTERRA and don't know very much about the Healing Hands Foundation, it's doTERRA's humanitarian arm, a registered 501c3 under the U.S. tax code. And this is important, all of doTERRA's, or all of Healing Hands' overhead and expenses, administrative costs, those are all generously borne by doTERRA International. So every dime, every dollar, every penny that is donated to the Healing Hands Foundation goes to the causes and projects. Isn't that great? So today, we're going to review and update some of the things that have happened in the last year, but what I am most excited about today will be a little bit later. I'm going to review some of your projects that you've done as wellness advocates. As most of you already know, wellness advocates can ask or petition, apply to Healing Hands for matching funds, to match funds that you and your groups have raised for your own humanitarian projects. And so we'll highlight some of those in a few minutes. Can I just begin by saying thank you for the service that has been provided already here at convention yesterday and today. These over 1,200 of these quilts are being tied into these mama baby kits that will go in with a number of other items like baby clothes, lavender touch, etc. And then these mama baby kits will be distributed in birthing centers in Nepal, Guatemala, Kenya, Haiti. So thank you for your service. Appreciate that. Also, as an FYI, I think this is significant, and we wanted you to know about this. The 68th United Nations Civil Society Conference was held here in Salt Lake City just a few weeks ago. In fact, it's the first time that they held this conference in the United States outside of New York. doTERRA International and the Healing Hands Foundation were both invited to participate on two panel discussions. And these two panel discussions were something I think we know a little bit about. One of them was the prevention, rescue, and healing of victims of human trafficking, right? I think we know a little bit about that. The second panel was on ethical supply chain sourcing, also something that I don't think anyone knows as much as we do about that. So it was an honor for us to be asked not only to participate, but we actually moderated those two panels. So doesn't it feel good to know that doTERRA and doTERRA Healing Hands is being globally recognized and asked to share our best practices? We're really making a difference in the world. Thank you. Okay, so very much has happened since our last convention this year that we won't be able to review everything. But I'm going to try and share a few snapshots of some of the projects that we've been involved with. Having said that, I want to invite you to the Healing Hands websites where you can get all the details, all the updates. That's doTERRAHealingHands.org. And I also invite you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. By the way, also on our website, that's where you can view our annual reports from each year and our audited financial statements, which for those of you who are interested in that sort of thing, I think that's important to know. Now, one of the ways that we endeavor to make an impact in the world is by supporting development projects in our co-impact sourcing locations, areas where we source essential oils, such as building schools, health clinics, improving infrastructure and water systems. Healing Hands is currently supporting humanitarian projects in these countries, these co-impact sourcing locations of Albania, Bulgaria, Haiti, Kenya, Madagascar. Dave Sterling yesterday talked about the hospital that we're building in Somaliland, and also in Guatemala and Nepal with our very good and cherished sourcing partner, Choice Humanitarian. And I'm pleased to announce that we've added another country to that list, and that's Brazil. Anyone here from Brazil? In the Amazon region of Brazil, doTERRA partners with Copaíba harvesters in communities along the Amazon River and its many tributaries. And the challenging thing here for the harvesters, they're in this vast network of waterways and in thick jungle, and so they have limited access to important resources such as medical services. And so this year, the Healing Hands Foundation has funded a project to provide dental services in 7 remote Amazon communities, making a real difference there. Now, of course, we attribute so much of our success to the many wonderful organizations that we're blessed and privileged to partner with. I'm just going to mention a few of them today. doTERRA continues to cherish its relationship with Days for Girls because of the many opportunities that are given to women and children with education and training, the reusable, washable feminine hygiene kits that are provided to them. In fact, I want you to think about this. Looking back to the beginning, I think it's phenomenal. In fact, I think it's staggering when you consider that over 1.5 million women and girls have already been supported and empowered by Days for Girls in 141 countries. Right? And just this week, we received an anonymous donation from someone in our doTERRA family in the very generous amount of $250,000 for Days for Girls. And this donation will provide kits and education for 25,000 girls in Kenya. So thank you for helping to make a difference for every girl, everywhere, period. I want to highlight another one of our cherished partnerships, Mentors International. They hold a special place in our hearts because they were one of the very first, in fact, they were the very first humanitarian partner we had. Mentors provides business training as well as small loans to hardworking family entrepreneurs who it gives them the opportunity to start and or grow their little own family business. Since Healing Hands' first donation to Mentors in 2010, listen to this, almost $7 million has been distributed in loans around the world. That is more than 160,000 individuals, more than 28,000 families who've been impacted, and significantly, they're given the opportunity to become self-reliant, which is the goal. Over 11,000 jobs have been created, more than 17,000 total loans have been dispersed. Through Mentors, we, you, us together, have provided loan funds in Ghana, Guatemala, Nepal, Peru, the Philippines, and now I want to tell you about one in the Dominican Republic. This is a new loan fund which offers girls and women who are survivors of sex trafficking the opportunity to learn a skill for their own support, such as bookkeeping, sewing, cooking, baking, beauty services, and a Mentors program that Healing Hands has funded and sponsored called Pearls with Purpose trains these survivors how to wire wrap Larimar stones for jewelry. Now, Larimar is an extremely rare and beautiful gemstone that's only found in the Dominican Republic. And so, just recently, the first graduating class just completed their training course, and they're now making beautiful jewelry to be sold. And these small business loans and training are empowering these survivors of human trafficking to learn a skill, to take control of their lives, to become self-reliant, and maybe most importantly, to give them hope and independence. Thank you. Now, you also know, this has been the subject of our conferences for many years, but sex trafficking is one of, if not the greatest evil in our society today. And with you, the doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation is engaged in fighting against this insidious evil. We continue to engage with partners who focus on 3 different but related facets of human trafficking: their education and prevention, their rescue, and the third leg of the stool would be the aftercare. Together with Operation Underground Railroad, or OUR, we continue our fight against human trafficking and, to date, have conducted 671 rescue operations, have made almost 1,500 arrests, and have rescued not 1, not 2, even though the 1 is so important, but over 2,700 individuals. This year, you, through the Healing Hands Foundation, have made donations which, combined with some generous matches, have totaled almost $1 million. These funds will be used to support rescue efforts in Haiti, the Ukraine, Colombia, Peru, and Cambodia as we work with local law enforcement in these countries. Additionally, we want to recognize wellness advocates on Gina Truman's team. They raised almost $50,000. Yeah. Which Healing Hands then donated to OUR for the purpose of building a boys' aftercare center or home in Thailand. So thank you, Gina, and your team. Rapha is a Hebrew word which means healing. And healing is the soul and the heartbeat of the Rafa House. The doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation is particularly invested in the aftercare and rehabilitation of rescued children to help them heal physically, mentally, emotionally, in a safe environment, knowing that their abusers are being prosecuted and will no longer be able to hurt them. Rafa House is one of those amazing, shining examples of a safe environment. And their centers often include an art therapy center, which allows survivors to express themselves and heal through art therapy. HGTV was able to design and beautify the center in Thailand that Healing Hands just funded and sponsored. Let's watch this.
Human trafficking is rampant in Southeast Asia, and it devastates their lives, the lives of their families, and the communities that they come from. Rafa House has an organization that goes on the journey with a young woman through her healing process and helps them to become whole again.
Here in Thailand, we are working directly with local law enforcement, and then we are a safe place that is licensed by the government of Thailand to protect these children. We want to continue to provide counseling, all of those things that are going to empower these children to go back to their communities and not only survive the trauma that's happened to them, but thrive.
This is a place where doTERRA is making a huge difference.
They pull the fragrance of a rose in the middle of the night when the hours are darkest. What we're doing in here is so much about pulling these girls out of the darkness into light, showing them beauty from ashes. Yesterday, we revealed the art center to the girls, and it was just beautiful. One of the girls said, "I feel like home. This is home."
We need the wellness advocates to know how important that you are to this work of Rafa House. None of this happens here without you. Girls don't come through the gates without you. We don't get to prosecute criminals without you.
Thank you to doTERRA for sponsoring this. It is 100,000% a blessing. We're so glad you chose us.
So last year, with Rafa House, you may remember that we announced the construction of a large $2.5 million aftercare campus in Haiti for survivors of sex trafficking. They're coming along very well. They're actually moving mountains to make this happen. They're building this campus into the side of a mountain. So we'll provide more updates on this project in the coming months, but we hope, in fact, by next convention, we'll show you much more about how that has turned out and how it's being used. In the last year, Healing Hands has also begun working with some emerging organizations that are also making an impact. And I want to introduce you to two of them today. This past February, 500 of you joined with us when we visited Pasitos de Luz in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. If you went with us, let me hear from you. Pasitos de Luz is a nonprofit organization that provides care for children from low-income families. But not only that, these children suffer from acute physical or psychological disabilities. You participated in various projects to improve the safety and functionality of the facility, and you helped train their staff on the use of essential oil. But by far the most rewarding part of that trip for me and probably for you was how you ministered to these children. They stole the hearts of everyone who was there and made a huge impact on our lives and changed us. And in fact, they inspired wellness advocates Dr. Darren and Christy Taylor to arrange for their own follow-up visit later to continue training and therapy, including 5 additional therapists, which have been funded by the doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation so that they're able to provide additional care and therapy for even more children.
Hi, I'm Dr. Darren Taylor.
And I'm Christy Taylor.
We're the owners of Global Body Health. We want to share an amazing, life-changing experience that we had this year. In February, we had the opportunity to go to Puerto Vallarta and visit a nonprofit called Pasitos de Luz.
Pasitos de Luz is Little Steps of Light. So we went in there, and I walked in, and I knew it was a really special space for the disabled children. I met Milton right away, and he introduced me to Cesar, who's a really special little kid, and I fell in love with him immediately, as I did with all the kids in our time there, and really did some therapy. We used some oils, opened up his hips, I think, for the first time in his life, got him sitting upright, and just had tremendous results. And at that point, I knew that we needed to be more involved in this and get back there as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And we're so grateful that both Mark Wolford and Emily Wright shared the same passion and vision to continue the support for Pasitos de Luz. In fact, they asked us to go back and do some training with the therapists, the volunteers, and work on the kids. They were so generous to donate a ton of essential oils that we got to take down to Mexico and train the staff how to use on the kids. It made such an impact on the ability to change the modalities and increase the healing.
One special girl who stole our heart is Fatima, and she had a very complex spinal surgery 10 weeks before we met her. She was in a wheelchair, so she hadn't walked. And I looked at the pre-operative and post-operative x-rays, and there was really no reason that at that point that she should still be in her wheelchair. So we did some really, really powerful work with her from a therapeutic perspective, and used the essential oils and had incredible results. It was very emotional. She got up and walked. We certainly helped her, and it was really, really, really special.
Now, we also recently added Engage Now Africa to the anti-human traffic organizations that we support. Engage Now Africa focuses on rescue and rehabilitation, prosecution, and prevention to eradicate modern slavery. Our funding this year, and we just started with them, but already this year, has helped rescue 14 girls aged 13 to 16 who were trafficked from their homes in northern Uganda into Kenya, and they were going to be transferred to Somalia for forced marriages and continued sexual servitude. So thank you for your support. The traffickers were arrested, and a larger network was uncovered. Make no mistake about it. doTERRA is committed to continuing its fight with you against human trafficking. Now, as many of you will recall from last year's convention, we announced that doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation is helping to fund the construction of a shelter facility that provides safe housing, counseling, women and victim advocacy groups and so forth, support groups in Park City, Utah. For survivors of domestic violence and abuse. It's the only one of its kind and size in Summit and Wasatch counties. We're excited that this new home of peace, healing, and encouragement for women and children is opening its doors this week. I was just there a couple weeks ago. Here today with Kendra Wyckoff, who's the executive director for the Peace House for survivors of family violence and abuse. I thought it would be great now that we're ready to open doors here to tell us a little bit about it and the purpose of this facility and why it's so important, why we need it.
This community campus will offer longer-term transitional housing and childcare, which are typically barriers for survivors of domestic violence. each one of the 12 units has a 1-bedroom. So you'll see that there are 2 beds in there and 2 dressers. So if we have a family that's larger, then we're able to make an apartment into a 2-bedroom, and even in some of the apartments, we're able to expand to a 3-bedroom.
Walking through this facility, it gives you an idea of all the services that are provided here. It feels very safe and secure here.
We are just so grateful for doTERRA Healing Hands support in making the Community Resource Center come to fruition. We have counselors available for both adults and children. We also have a client closet, as at times families need some basic clothing services. So it's a space where families can step into and literally shop for items that they need for free.
The healing that's going to take place here, I feel, as you've named it, I feel peace here. You feel the warmth. And so on behalf of doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation and our wellness advocates, we want to thank you. Okay, thank you. Thus far, we've talked a little bit about the projects that Healing Hands is participating in around the world. And as I mentioned earlier, you can go to the website doTERRAHealingHands.org to get all the details and updates. But you have also been very busy this year, and we wanted to share some of that with everyone. Since our last convention, you've invited the doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation to participate in 93 different projects with you by allowing us to donate by matching funds, almost $1.1 million in cash and product. These photos give you an idea of the diversity and scope of interest and impact that we're making together. I want to show you only a few of the many incredible things that your fellow wellness advocates have been doing, and we invited some of them to submit to us home-produced amateur videos telling us about their projects. So the first one is the Mission Mabali project that's brought to us by Diamond Joy Tarpley. Thank you, Joy. doTERRA Healing Hands matched her fundraising campaign to help build an orphanage and school in Mabali, Uganda, and a fence around the property. Let's watch this.
Hello, my doTERRA family. This is Joy Tarpley coming to you from Mabali, Uganda. And I'm going to be sending you some short videos of the school and the fence that I had the privilege of being a part of building. So the first thing I want to show you right behind me is the gate and all the fencing that comes with building the school. And that was the first phase. The first phase of what we did was building that fence, and we were part of that so we could begin. And the farmlands are really beautiful. It's hard to see, but in the background there's a gorgeous mountain that overlooks the school. I always feel like it's just a sign of God's provision. And then right behind me is the actual school. So right now it goes to P4, and they're now building a second level, another section, so it can go to P7, primary 7. And today we're going to get to go into the classrooms and see students learning. I'm so excited. But we were a part of providing the building and the fencing, so many children here in Mabali, Uganda can go to school. So I look forward to showing you some of the children, but this is the beautiful land and the beautiful area that it's being built on.
Thank you, Joy. The next one, the Live Love Malawi project, was conducted by wellness advocates Chris Flecken and her diamond sponsors Arla Lines and Lisa Colty. This was a cash matching campaign to build a kitchen for the women in the Makanda village in Malawi so that they could help feed children at a nearby school, to sell their goods in the market, and to raise money for their families and educate girls in the kitchen to create a sustainable business that they could support their families.
I reached out to my upline leaders, Arla Lines and Lisa Colte, and we formed a team. The three of us and our daughters. Kitchen started breaking ground in June of this year, 2019. Even though I cannot be there, I am still extremely excited to see this happen and how it's going to change the lives of this village and generations after that.
We had the opportunity to distribute Days for Girls kits. There's a video that where Dua holds up a pair of underwear and the entire crowd of girls just goes crazy. They start screaming and clapping, and that was a beautiful moment because you forget the things that you take for granted.
Just want to thank the people that have been part and parcel of this project, especially doTERRA and everybody involved. That this goes a long way. You're not only changing one woman, you're changing 22 lives, and those lives are changing their families, and those families will be changing their community, and their community will also mean we are changing Malawi as a nation. Thank you so much, because the kitchen looks so amazing, and we believe that everything that will come out of that kitchen is going to bring an impact on the lives of this community. I want to say thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chris. So we move from Uganda to Beyond the Epicenter project, which was spearheaded by wellness advocate Ali Wishner and her diamond sponsor Reagan Pleckenpole. And this matching campaign helped build 2 earthquake-resistant schools in Nepal, and it wasn't their first 2.
Hey, it's Ali coming to you live from New York. So I'm here to talk to you today about something that's happening thousands of miles away at this very moment in a small town in Nepal. When I first became a wellness advocate, I have 2 main goals. One goal was to help people take charge of their own lives and their health through doTERRA products. But the second lived in Nepal. In 2015, a 7.2 magnitude earthquake devastated the country. My sister was there. She was 20 miles from the epicenter. Thankfully, though, she was okay. But 35,000 classrooms were destroyed during this earthquake. And when my sister came back to New York, my family immediately found ourselves asking, what can we do? What can we do that even in a small way can help make things better for these people who had given so much to my sister when she'd been there? We decided what we would do is that we would rebuild schools. Many of the schools in Nepal were not built to withstand an earthquake. They were built of thin materials that just crumbled when the earthquake struck. Since then, we've rebuilt 9 classrooms, 9 earthquake-proof, safe classrooms that have returned over 1,000 kids to school. A few months ago, my family and our foundation, Beyond the Epicenter, partnered with the doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation. Together, we have raised almost $24,000 to rebuild earthquake-proof, safe schools in Nepal. Together, we will build 2 more schools, and this will send over 100 more students back to classrooms 3 years later. And I cannot tell you how excited I am about this.
Thank you, Ali. Woo! Uganda, Malawi, Nepal. Now, the next one is the International Extremity Project, which was led by wellness advocate Devin Fleur-de-Jean and her Blue Diamond sponsor Megan Fraszewski. This was a product matching campaign to supply essential oils to comfort patients who were requiring surgical corrections of foot and ankle deformities.
Hi, my name is Devin Fleur-de-Jean, and I am a clinical aromatherapist and massage therapist. I've joined this mission to support the team and their health and well-being, and to provide comfort and pain management for the patients. I I had this really powerful experience with this woman.
Can I rub your leg? Can I rub your leg a little bit?
I was giving her this massage. Then there was a point where in her eyes you could see she's been feeling so much emotional pain for so long about this. She started kind of tearing up and looking at me with so much love, and it just feels so good to be able to support people and having the oils do their magic. It really moved her, and in turn really moved me.
Sometimes it's just about providing a little extra kindness and love for someone who's going through a hard time. The last one that I want to share with you, and there are so many more that we could share, is the Miracle Foundation is a humanitarian project by Presidential Diamonds, Dr. Zia and Kai Nix. This was a cash matching campaign to care for 48 children who were living in an orphanage, and then to help transition them to a family placement in India. But then the Nix contributed a double match to this campaign for a total of $60,000. Thank you, Nixes.
Hey, what's going on, doTERRA family? This is Kai Nix.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Zia Nix, and we're coming to you from New York City. We're so grateful and excited that we just got to participate in a doTERRA Healing Hands matching grant. And the organization, the cause that we've chosen to support is the Miracle Foundation and its founder, Caroline Boudreau. For the last 20 years, the Miracle Foundation has been working with orphanages around the globe to ensure standards of quality of life and quality of care for the children living in the orphanages. So we're so excited that we get to be a part of this mission, and that doTERRA also has chosen to be a part of this.
It's about leaving an impact on this world, leaving this world a better place than when we found it. And Zia and I want to leave our legacy on the world. It's really a blessing and a gift, and we're so grateful that we're able to be a part of this incredible mission.
Yes, and one of my favorite quotes of all time is, "You never know how something you may say, think, or do today can affect the lives of millions tomorrow." How many people will you directly and indirectly, how many families, how many communities will you affect positively because you chose to build your doTERRA business?
So Zia and I feel like superheroes, and you get to be a superhero too when you get to work and do work through the doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation. So we want to see the superhero that lies in you. So go ahead, go out there and change the world.
When a big guy like Kai Nix points his finger at you, that's a call to action. So there was a recurring theme today. Did you notice it? It's this: together we can do so much more than we can do alone. There are so many more stories that we could have shared, but look for them to be posted soon on the website. Now, I want to try something here. Please stand up and remain standing if you were one of the people in any of these videos. Stand up. We want to recognize you. Where are you? Okay, stay standing. Don't sit down. But now stand up if you've ever requested and participated in a Wellness Advocate Partner Project matching campaign. Also stand up. Okay, stay standing. Now please stand up if you've ever donated, volunteered, or helped in any way on a Wellness Advocate Partner Project matching campaign. Stand up. Look around. Can you see what is being done as we join together? Thank you. We are lifting our communities and the world one drop of oil and one act of kindness at a time. In addition to matching campaigns, we have other options to help you partner with the doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation. One of them is you can create your own fundraiser to recognize a momentous event in your life. And doTERRA International will then match every dollar you raise this year up to $500,000. So let's get your events on a fundraising page. Now, I don't want to get in trouble here, but I want to share an example with you. We have a special birthday that we celebrated earlier this week. I think Emily turned 29. Is that right, Emily? Now, Emily gave us permission to create for her a fundraiser page to help celebrate her birthday by helping others in need. Emily wanted to make sure I said this was not about her. This was about donating to help others. So, please consider visiting the doTERRAHealingHands.org website to donate and support Emily in reaching her goal. And go there to create your own fundraiser. Thank you. So, I want to shift gears as I close now and get ready to get off the stage. I want to say thank you for participating with us in our kindness campaign, doTERRA's 15 Days of Kindness. This was the 15 days leading up to convention, where we were all invited to perform an act of kindness, big or small, every day. Many of you have posted about your acts with the kindness hashtag that says, "Be kind together." I hope you've seen those. And in connection with our kindness campaign, we have a very special guest with us today. If you've seen by chance a yellow VW Beetle in your city recently, it could have very well been our keynote speaker. He's a global adventurer, a motivational speaker, philanthropist, and author of the best-selling memoir, The Kindness Diaries. He gave up his job as a broker and his home in London for a life on the road. He has visited more than 100 countries and traveled to every continent. He's the host of the TV series, The Kindness Diaries, now streaming on Netflix, and he's documented his travels for numerous media outlets, among them Good Morning America, the LA Times, the New York Times, and he is with us today. I had a chance to spend some time with Leon Logothetis a few weeks ago. Let's roll the video.
Often people come up to me and they say, "So Leon, what does kindness mean to you? You're the kindness guy, you should know." And they expect this epic answer. But the truth is that kindness is really quite simple. For me, kindness is simply helping someone feel less alone. Here we are outside the local In-N-Out, about to go and do an act of kindness. Today, we're out picking up garbage. Hello, we have the same barber. Can I take your cart?
Of course.
Thank you very much. Well, hi, what's your name?
Jessica.
Jessica, I wanted to let you know that your smile lights up rooms.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Do you know what I find with kindness is the most important thing is really being in the moment and being kind moment to moment. You don't have to go on some epic adventure. You have to just treat people with respect. We simply want to show you some kindness.
Oh, thank you.
That's,
Thank you.
we consider you to be an unsung hero. Would you like me to take your trolley?
My trolley?
Yes. Okay, but take your bag first. I challenge you to take an extra minute and make people feel like they matter. The 15-day kindness challenge is really just a beginning, because for me, kindness is a movement. And how you show up in your everyday life, how you show up moment to moment, makes a really profound difference to others and to yourself. So thank you for being part of the 15-day challenge, but really, I'm going to challenge you to be part of the 15-year challenge. Go out, be kind, and help people to see the magnificence in themselves.
Please help me welcome to the stage the kind Leon Logothetis. Wow. So Lake City. Thank you so much for having me. What a beautiful, beautiful city. Thank you very, very much for having me. Guys, you have to put the timer on, the timer. So, you may not know this, but I was born in eastern Utah. That's clearly not true. You may be wondering to yourself, why is there an Englishman at my convention? There's an Englishman in your convention who's here to talk to you about something quite profound. The most beautiful thing that each and every one of us in this room can do for another human being is to see them, is to make them feel like they matter, to make them feel the magic that is in each and every one of us. I'm sure there are people in this room that have felt unseen. I know I have felt unseen. And I'm sure there are people, I hope, there are people in this room, or should I say stadium, who felt seen. When you see another human being, you give that human being fuel to be the person they were supposed to be. And the most profound way to see someone is simply to be kind. We live in a world where people tell us every day that kindness no longer exists. I'm here today to hopefully make you feel that kindness is real. And it is flowing in every single person in this stadium. Every single one of you. And you get to choose. Do you want to live like this? With your heart wide open? You get to choose, each and every one of us. Sometimes I give speeches at schools, and I say to the kids, I say, if you don't listen to anything else I say today, listen to what I'm about to share. And I say the same thing to everyone sitting here today. Share your pain. Share your pain. We've been told that we shouldn't have pain. We've been told that pain is for other people. If I'm not mistaken, every single person in this stadium is human. Anyone not human? And to be human means to have pain. It's okay. Share your pain. So, again, why is there an Englishman in your stadium? Well, I used to be a broker in the City of London, and I had everything. Okay, I didn't have a private jet, but I was getting there. On the outside, I had it all. On the inside, I had nothing. I was broken, and I was wearing a mask. And that mask told you that I was fine. But I wasn't fine. And I'm sure many of you in this stadium can relate to wearing that mask. Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Only when we are touched by someone's kindness, someone's empathy, someone's moment of brilliance where we open up our hearts, do we start truly, truly living. It is okay to be in pain. Share your pain. So I thought to myself, I'm going to spend the rest of my life sitting behind this desk, following someone else's dream. And then I stumbled across the movie, The Motorcycle Diaries. Who's watched The Motorcycle Diaries? Okay. It is a romanticized version of Che Guevara traveling around South America, relying on kindness. And there was something profound about this movie. It made me realize there was another way to live. I didn't have to sit behind that desk. Not that there's anything wrong with sitting behind a desk. If you sit behind a desk, good for you. For me, I didn't want to sit behind a desk. And I thought I'd have to spend the rest of my life following someone else's way of living. And that movie changed everything. And I remember sitting on my couch in London, and I came up with what I thought at the moment was a brilliant idea. It was a brilliant idea when you're sitting on your couch in London watching TV with a cup of tea in your hand. But my idea was I was going to quit my job and I was going to walk from Times Square to the Hollywood sign, relying entirely on people like you. And that is exactly what I did. And I remember arriving in Times Square and thinking to myself, oh no. What have I done? And I had two choices at that moment. One was to go back home and say to my father, can I have my job back? Not going to happen. Two was find my way to the Hollywood sign, relying on people just like you. And that is exactly what happened. I'm going to tell you a little story, because that journey started me on the journey to being here today. I met this lady in Indianapolis. I was sitting outside on a hotel bench, and I said to her about my story. She had a 1-year-old kid. I told her about what I was doing. She lived in, actually, Chicago, which is 3 hours away. And she turns around, she says to me, you know what? If you want, find your way to Chicago. Here are the only set of keys to my house. You can sleep on my couch, eat the chili from my fridge, and leave the keys in the flower pot the next day. Now, my inside voice was like, there is something wrong with this woman. That's the truth. My outside voice was like, okay. So I took the keys from this lady, found my way to Chicago, slept on her couch, ate the chili from her fridge, and left the keys in the flower pot the next morning. And what that showed me, and I hope shows you, is that there are two worlds. One is here, and the other is here. And if we live from here, everything changes. Everything changes. And the most beautiful way to get to here is to have another human being treat you like you matter. Sometimes people say to me that kindness isn't real. And I'm like, do you know who you're speaking to? You're speaking to the kindness guy. And they tell me they're cynical. I get it. But we're going to do a little experiment to prove the cynics wrong. I had a teacher called Mrs. Mann. Every day, I would walk into school and I would be bullied every day. And I'm sure people in this room feel it, have felt it. And I was broken. And she would look at me, and she would say, I believe in you. Every day. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. So, for those who say that kindness doesn't change the world, we're going to do a little experiment. All the people who've had at least one human being say to them something that's made them feel good, something that has changed the direction of their lives by simply being kind, stand up. For the cynics outside of this stadium, because clearly there aren't any inside, remember this moment. Basically, every single human being stood up. Don't tell me that kindness doesn't change the world. Okay? Okay, you can sit down. So I ended up arriving in Hollywood, and Hollywood is not renowned for being the kindest place in the world. It's just not. And you know, sometimes life doesn't go up like that, right? Sometimes life goes down, up, down, blah, blah, blah. Spent 7 years in Hollywood doing all the wrong things. Let's leave it at that. And then one day, I'm walking on Hollywood Boulevard, and I see this homeless man. And he has a sign that says, kindness is the best medicine. We have to go back, sorry. That kindness is the best medicine. Whoa. I had another epiphany. And I had another brilliant idea. I was going to buy a vintage yellow motorbike. I was going to call it Kindness One, sort of like Air Force One, but a little bit yellower. And I was going to drive it from Los Angeles all the way around Earth with no money, no food, no gas, no place to stay. All I would have is relying on people like you. Now, I thought that that was a brilliant idea. I went back to my then girlfriend's house, and I told her. And within 5 minutes, she started crying. And I remember a couple of months ago, I gave a speech, and this lady came up to me, very sweet old lady, and she says, Leon, you don't understand women, do you? She was right. But I managed to, calm the situation down. And there was going to be a twist in this little journey. And that is that unsuspecting Good Samaritans were going to receive a life-changing gift. So if you were kind to me, you would have no idea that I was going to give something back to you. So I started on this journey. And one thing I want to share before I move on. I don't want anyone in this stadium to leave today and go home and say, I heard an Englishman speak today. And he told me that I had to be perfect. That is not why I'm here. Trust me. If I gave you the telephone numbers of all of my ex-girlfriends, they would tell you how imperfect I am. This is not about perfection. You're human. You make mistakes. You get angry. You give 1 stars to crazy Uber drivers. That's it. It's okay. What you have to do, what we have to do, is to make a commitment to showing up with compassion and empathy in our hearts. That's it. And when you fall off the kindness wagon, just get back on it. Okay? All right. So, I came up with this plan. I was going to go around the world. I'm going to introduce you to a man that epitomizes the whole journey. I would have to go up to people in the street and I would say to them, "Can I stay in your house tonight?" And they would say, "No." Fine, no worries. I was in Pittsburgh having some problems, trying to find a place to stay. Pittsburgh. And I went up to this chap. I said to him, "Can I stay in your house tonight?" And he looks at me and he says, "I'm homeless." Okay. So I've just asked a homeless man to stay in his house. Not very wise. I'm about to walk off, and he turns around and he says something quite profound. He says, "Do you know what? If you want, you can stay with me tonight. I will feed you, I will protect you, and I will give you some clothes." And that is exactly what happened. And Tony taught me two profound lessons. One, kindness is free. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter how much money you don't have. It doesn't matter how cool you think you are or how cool you think you're not. Kindness is free. How you show up in the world matters. Everyone in this stadium, matters. And if that's true, which it is, then the person sitting next to you matters. And the person sitting behind you matters. And the person who's cut you off on the freeway, sorry, but they matter too. Yeah? And how you show each other that you matter is by simply being kind. That's it. That's all you have to do. That is all you have to do to live from your heart. To live from your heart. So the second thing that Tony taught me is that true wealth is not in your wallet. It's in your heart. A man with nothing showed me the meaning of how to live with our hearts wide open. At the end of each episode, we give an unsuspecting gift to someone. And Tony, I took him in the little bike. I said to him, "Tony, take me somewhere where you felt loved." And he thinks about it. He says, "You know what? I felt loved at school." And I was like, clearly you did not go to an English school. It's fine, no worries. So I took him to the English school, not to the English school, to his school. And I told him what I was really doing. And I was able to put him up in an apartment and send him back to school. He always wanted to be a chef. And the reason why I share that part of the story is because kindness is a win-win. When you're kind to someone else, you win and they win. What a beautiful thing. It's a win-win. So now I'm going to show you a quick video of Tony the Legend. People tell me all the time they want to help, but they just have problems of their own.
I've been homeless for about a year and a half.
I think of all the problems in the world, being homeless has got to be one of the hardest.
When I got to like to be 8 or 9, I suppose, right around that age, my dad got killed. My mother, she's crying like, how am I going to feed you guys? How am I going to get you school clothes? So I started getting in trouble. I started going out and stealing food from the supermarket. I take lunch meat and hot dogs, simple stuff kids could eat. Wound up in juvenile hall. Juvenile hall led me to prison.
He had nothing in the world by any real standards. When I met Tony, I had no idea how hard his life was. Can I live in your house tonight?
Unfortunately, I don't have a house. I'm homeless right now. If I did, you'd be more than welcome there.
And yet, what did he do? He offered to help.
All we have to offer you here as far as hospitality is our camp. If you're welcome, you're welcome to come over there and sit around and rest or eat something if you're hungry or whatever. You never know when a stranger's going to wander in from the bus station or something, or you get stuck here and stranded and need a place to lay down. And I always keep a bare bedroll and blanket and pillow and stuff wrapped up and tucked away in plastic so it's dry and clean, because people need that.
He took me in. He gave me a place to stay, food to eat.
It seems to me that sharing is extremely important to you.
It is, because it feels good to share. And you can make someone's day, you can make them feel better, you don't know what a person's going through. It's better to give than receive. Because you can receive so much, your pockets are full. What are you going to do with it? If you share it with somebody, you feel good, right? It's more valuable. It's more valuable money.
He literally offered me everything he had.
They're brand new. I have like a few pair of underwear. You said you didn't have clothing and stuff? I'm positive. I have extras.
This guy has nothing. And he's letting me stay with him in his home, giving me his clothes that he hasn't worn, because he's worried that I won't have enough clothes for my journey.
If Tony, a man with absolutely nothing, can still be kind,
but I'll lay this down for you because it'll keep the conflict from being this hard,
then why can't everyone? I'm sure everyone in this room knows what it feels like when someone is mean to you, when someone is unkind to you. And I'm hoping that you all know what it feels like when someone is kind to you. Go out into the world and make people feel like that. Who has a dog? So, this is my dog, Winston Churchill. He is literally the naughtiest dog in England. If you go to the Guinness Book of Records, no joke, his face comes up. So, I remember once I bought 2 cheeseburgers. Sorry to the vegetarians in the house, but I did. Left them on the kitchen table, go upstairs, come down. Winnie and the cheeseburgers have disappeared. I have this really comfy chair, sitting in the chair. Winnie's over there, barking at me, whining. I get out of my chair. I'm like, Winnie, what's wrong with you? Wants my chair, all right? So he's very, very naughty. But one day, I realized, holy moly, and English people actually do say that out loud. It's like, holy moly. I am so kind and so patient with Winston Churchill. What would happen if I went out into the world and I treated you the same way that I treated him? So I decided to do a little experiment. For 7 days, I was going to go out into the world and give Winnie love to everyone. And everything changed. Because I realized that kindness is a choice. Everyone gets to choose. How do you want to show up? You want to show up like this? Or you want to show up like this? You get to choose. And that's what I did, 7 days. So, we did the 15-day kindness challenge, right? Who did a 15-day, who did part of it? Okay, wow. Okay, cool. So, the challenge that I have for you today, if everyone in this room does it, stadium, keep forgetting, if everyone does it, we could get 15 to 20,000 extra acts of kindness. The challenge is to go out into the world and to make just one human being feel less alone. Because kindness isn't some massive scientific algebraic theory. It is simply making someone feel less alone. That's all it is. I would say that there isn't a single person in this stadium that hasn't at some time in their life felt alone. Remind yourself how it felt when someone made you feel less alone. And go out into the world today and mention it on social media with Be Kind Together and inspire people through your acts of kindness. Who's in? Who's in? Okay. Lovely. So, believe it or not, this is Winston's best friend, Manolo. Now, Winston went up to Manolo one day and said, "Hello. Manolo, you're not being very kind to yourself, are you?" And Manolo's like, "No, I'm not." And Winnie said, "Do you want to know what the trick is to live a beautiful life?" And Manolo was like, "Yeah, I do." And Winnie told him, the trick to living a beautiful life, by the way, Winston is a Cockney, but anyway. The trick to winning a beautiful life is to be kind and gentle to yourselves. To be kind and gentle to yourselves. So Manolo quit his job and went to Bali and became a yoga teacher. Anyway, sometimes people say to me, "Leon, I can't be kind." What? I can't be kind. Because if I'm kind, people will squash me. If I'm vulnerable, people will see it as weakness. I can't be kind. When that happens, because the kindness guy always has an answer, I tell them about the great Muhammad Ali. Now, Muhammad Ali was a man of service, not perfect like any of us, was a man of love, was a man of kindness. People tell me that to be kind is to be weak. How many of you would mess with Muhammad Ali? And that's my point. The greatest strength
that you have is to be kind. However much money you make, however successful you are, if there's no foundation of love, if there's no foundation of kindness, I would say you're not successful. So remember to be like the great Muhammad Ali. That was a poem, anyway. All right, so on my journey around the world, I met some amazing people. One of the people that I met was a Vietnamese doctor who gave free eyesight surgery to poor Vietnamese farmers every day. Here was a man who came from his heart, who came from a place of service. And I remember thinking to myself, the way to truly change the world is to give. The way to truly be of service is to share. When I speak to the kids, I ask them who their heroes are. And some of them turn around and say, Justin Bieber. Not many, but some. Some of them turn around and say Taylor Swift or whatever. And I tell them that in order to be a hero, all you have to do is be kind. All you have to do is make someone feel less alone. That is all it takes to be a hero. And what I do with the kids is I tell them, I'm going to pick the person who's the quietest, and then I say, who's your favorite teacher? And they all go insane. And they pick their favorite teacher, and then I bring the favorite teacher up, and everyone gets to bask in the glory of how kindness changes lives. So, I was in Vietnam. Who's been to Vietnam? Anyone? Okay. Who's been to the Moc Bai border? Don't ever go there. I arrive in Vietnam, go to the border. I have my passport. The bike has a passport. And the guy looks at the bike and looks at my passport and he says, you can come in, the bike cannot. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I had to spend 7-8 days in Vietnam. And I ended up sitting outside this amazing white building that turned out to be the Opera House. I was having a little bit of a self-piteous English moment. I'm sitting there, and a guy comes up to me and he says, is everything okay? I'm like, not really. I tell him my story. And he says, well, you know what? You're in luck. I am the director of the Ho Chi Minh City Opera House. If you want, you should come to the opera tonight. I'm like, all right. So I go to the opera. He puts me up in the bleachers. Just before the end, he touches me on the shoulder and he says, I think you should go on stage. And I'm like, that's a very bad idea. No worries, all good. He gets me on stage, dresses me up. He says, go and play your heart out. I do. It finishes, and then something profound happens. I get a standing ovation. Now, admittedly, it was a pity standing ovation, but I get a standing ovation, and everything starts to make sense. In that moment, I feel seen. Yes, it's external, but I quickly internalize it. That fuel we talked about earlier, that fuel to live a great life. And then everything starts to make sense. What did I give Tony? I saw him. That's all. How many of us have walked past homeless people and just ignored them? Many of us, myself included. I saw him. What did Mrs. Mann give me all those years ago? She saw me. I see you, Leon. The doctor, what did he give to all those poor Vietnamese farmers? He saw them. You're important enough for me to go out of my way to help you. Imagine if every single person in this stadium went out into the world, imperfectly, but went out into the world and lived like this. Things would change. Things would change. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video, and then we're going to have some more fun.
My name is Leon. I was living an uninspiring life on Wall Street, sitting behind a slab of wood, crunching numbers. I decided that there must be more to life.
Kindness One and I are about to embark on an epic journey. A journey powered solely by kindness.
Can I live in your house tonight?
Unfortunately, I don't have a house. I'm homeless right now. I take this blanket here.
We want to put you up in a house, enroll you in some kind of certificate program where you can make your way again in life.
So Willie, why the kindness, man?
I don't know, that's just something I've always been raised with.
How does Willie help your life? How does that make you feel?
I feel like I'm proud of the human race.
We want to pay for you to go to England for your son's wedding.
You're a joke.
I'm absolutely not joking.
That's an answer to prayer.
Can I be cheeky and give you a kiss on the cheek goodbye?
Oh, absolutely. I can turn the other cheek too.
Okay. Very random question. Are you a cowboy?
Oh no! This is bad!
I can't believe that I'm in the tunnel that saved the city of Sarajevo. Giving sight to the poor for free, it's beyond words. We will fund 100 surgeries.
You need to help me. I'm serious. The bike is finished. I need to find a mechanic. I literally haven't eaten in a day. Can I stay with you tonight?
Are we there yet?
Can I spend the night in your house tonight? You speak English? The life of an Indian farmer is not for me. Hey, my son! Kindness One! I'm gonna free you.
We're missionaries. We would love to offer a place for you to stay tonight.
Made it all the way from Hollywood on kindness.
Hari Gangi.
You are staying with us tonight. Welcome. Our kindness to you.
I would kiss you, but I wouldn't.
Oh, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. But I would hug you.
Good man.
We are going to build her a house. It's true. This is real. It's going to happen.
I think this is like more than you know. You go to school again? Yeah. Thank you.
They say that giving is better than receiving. And in many ways, that's true.
I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for people being kind, showing me love, and making me believe in myself. Everyone in this room has the power to inspire other people exactly the same way that I feel inspired right now. You get to choose. So, this is where it gets fun. I need one person to come up here today and share with us what it feels like when someone is unkind to you. What it feels like when someone is unkind to you. One person. Well, I'm going to pick someone. Okay. Would you like a hug? Hug? Okay. Okay. So what's your name?
Lee.
Lee. L and L. Okay. What does it feel like when someone is unkind to you?
It's like a dull pain that sits in your chest that is hard to let go of, and that you end up carrying around for sometimes decades.
Does it feel like the people are turning their backs on you?
For sure.
Okay. I want everyone to stand up. Everyone stand up. I would like everyone to turn their backs to Lee and I. Turn your backs to us. Yes. Turn your backs. And Lee and I are going to tell you how we feel when you've turned your backs to us. Lee, how does this make you feel?
Terrible.
I feel profoundly alone. I feel like you don't love me. I feel broken. When you are unkind, this is how people feel. Okay, turn around, keep standing. Now, we're going to tell you how we feel. Okay, Lee, how do you feel?
Hi. Much better.
Beautiful. It's amazing. I feel not broken anymore.
Yeah.
I feel loved. I feel like I matter. It's amazing.
Having 20,000 people turn their back to you is not a good feeling.
Not a good feeling. And having one person turn your back on you is not a good feeling either. So, remember this moment. A wise lady, Maya Angelou, once said, people never remember what you said to them. They remember how you make them feel. Okay? So you get to choose. You get to choose. Okay, thank you so much. I see you, Lee, too. Okay, so one last thing. Everyone in this stadium has the power to change the world. Or how do I have the power to change the world, Leon? All you need to do to change the world is touch one life. And the most beautiful way to touch one life is to be kind. Thank you.
Please welcome doTERRA Presidential Diamonds, James and Chelsea Stevens, their family, and their team. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CMO, Vice President of Medical and Scientific Initiatives, Dr. Russell Osgoodthorpe.
Wow! It is wonderful to be here together with you this morning. I am a little bit nervous. To tell you the truth, I have never thought that I would stand on a stage like this and look at a scene like this before. So, thank you. I really, really do appreciate your kindness. Leon was incredible. That musical number was amazing. Sitting behind and listening to it, I said to myself, I have to follow that? You've got to be kidding. But I'm going to try really hard. I think a little bit of an introduction would be in order. Tell you just a little bit about myself and how I found my way to doTERRA. I'm a proud husband and father of this crew. I love them with all my heart. They're why I show up in the morning. I'm also a pediatrician. I studied at University of Colorado, Denver Children's Hospital. Love that place with all my heart. It's where I learned how to take care of children. It will forever be a part of me. I left residency and did a fellowship in pediatric infectious diseases at Washington University in St. Louis. All right, the show me state, right over there. So I loved that part of my life, and I was faculty at Washington University for a couple of years before coming to Intermountain Healthcare to a custom-made position with Intermountain Healthcare, University of Utah, and Primary Children's Hospital. I was tasked with building a children's specialty group in Utah County, just a little south of us here in Provo. And over the last 10, 11 years, I was able to work with some of the most cherished colleagues of mine, building that little group. During that process, they taught me how to be a medical executive, and I really enjoyed innovating. It was there that I learned that I am an innovator. When somebody says something can't be done, that's when I get to work. I grind my teeth and I just get down in the dirt and I want to solve problems and do things that people don't think can be done, but that everybody thinks need to be done. So why did I end up at doTERRA from this particular position? Well, as I'm standing here in front of you, I'm really asking myself that question again. It is a little bit daunting to be with you, but I only have to do this occasionally, they say, so that's good. But the reason why I'm here, they're very familiar to you. To leave a children's hospital, I had to come to a place that had a beating heart. The Healing Hands Foundation of doTERRA is the beating heart of our organization. It is how we enter the world. I am proud to be associated with it. The hospital in Somalia is so exciting to me, providing care to over 500,000 people who have no opportunity to get health care, if not for doTERRA and the Healing Hands Foundation. That's really quite miraculous to me. Co-impact sourcing, helping hundreds of thousands of people lead a better life and become stronger together. This co-impact sourcing, I learned over 5 months of investigating this job, was integral to sourcing certified pure therapeutic grade oils. Without them, my position here wouldn't be possible, and I'll explain why shortly. Lastly, doTERRA Healthcare Initiatives, Primary in Healthcare, is why I'm here, to build something that has never been built before, a problem in American healthcare that has not yet been solved. I look forward to those kinds of challenges. The last reason I'm here is because of the culture and people here. I've known Dave Sterling and Greg Cook for over a decade. And when I knew them a decade ago, when doTERRA was barely beginning, and saw them get to work and do something that they thought was going to be really important, but that they knew the task was daunting and huge before them, they became better versions of themselves over the last decade. They are still them, and I love that about these two men. They helped bring me here, and after coming, I met people like Emily Wright and Dr. Hill who welcomed me, recruited me with open arms, and helped me find my way from Intermountain Healthcare to doTERRA. The culture of doTERRA is unique. I know you guys all know it, but for somebody who didn't know this and isn't familiar with this, you know you're different, right? I'm really proud to be associated with you. You are a unique group of people trying to change the world in your own little way, and I love that about you. So let's talk a little bit more about quality and purity. Like I said, I examined doTERRA for over 5 months. To do research on essential oils, consistency and quality are absolutely required. The type of research I do is medical research. It can't be done if you don't have consistent product. For if you did a study on an inconsistent product, one year that product would be at this level, the next year it would be here, and you cannot rely on results of medical studies if you don't have consistency. The whole industry is at risk right now of being commoditized. And to do this, to commoditize essential oils, quality has to be sacrificed. doTERRA will never do that. That's why I'm here. I am going to scientifically characterize what you already know about essential oils. This will bring essential oils, doTERRA essential oils, to a larger group of people. I chose doTERRA for the groundbreaking, dogma-shattering research that can be done on these products. So, let's take you through a few of doTERRA's healthcare initiatives and how we're going to do that. So first, we've heard already yesterday and today, pursue what is pure. This is our foundation for doTERRA's healthcare initiatives. On that foundation stands Prime Meridian Healthcare, a clinician network, institutional relationships, and clinical research. These 4 efforts of Prime Meridian working together will lead to efficacy studies, and efficacy is at the heart of all of doTERRA's healthcare initiatives. To help explain the research aspect of what I'm going to do at doTERRA, I want to teach you, if you'll allow me, a few things about clinical research. It's done in phases. The first phase is phase 0. I know they should have started with phase 1, but they'd already built phase 1 before they determined that they needed phase 0, so just stay with me. So phase 0 is consistency. Consistency is required, like I said. After you do phase 0, you can move on to phase 1. Phase 1 is pharmacokinetics, or dosing. In the dietary supplement world, we call that serving size. And it has not been done in our field in a rigorous manner. It needs to be done. The second phase is safety. Prospective safety trials will be done under my direction that will allow us to better understand how to use these products for you and your family. And then the third phase is efficacy trials. We'll get there together. Who do I do this work with? I have this wonderful group of people that I've come to know. In the 5 months that I looked at doTERRA, I met most of them. We've hired some of them since my arrival. We have physicians, pharmacists, pharmacotoxicologists, molecular biologists, microbiologists, analytical chemists. The group of these folks are really, they were surprising to me. I wasn't expecting to find it. Most essential oil companies, in fact, I think we're the only essential oil company that has anything like this. And it's impressive. I'm privileged to work with each of them. So that's the research. Let's talk about relationships. For a moment, I need you to think about a future state for doTERRA. Think about the kinds of relationships that we can build when we do this research. Science is collaborative, it's peer-reviewed, and it's published. A relationship is so much more than transactional. It's mutually beneficial. We want long-term relationships with institutions, scientific organizations, industry leaders, hospital groups, and systems that will allow us to take doTERRA into the next phase of its development. Let me introduce you to some of those partners in this scientific effort to advance the science and understanding of essential oils. Last year, I was here at convention. You didn't know that, but I was. And I was checking all of you out. I was pretty convinced after watching this last year I wasn't coming. Well, I cannot do that. And here I am. But last year at convention, I listened to Mary Beckerly, the CEO of Huntsman Cancer Institute, talk on this very stage about comprehensive cancer care at the Huntsman Cancer Institute and how doTERRA was helping support that. Just last week, I participated in the groundbreaking of the Catherine F. Kirk Center for Comprehensive Cancer Care and Women's Cancers at Huntsman Cancer Institute. It is an amazing institution, one of the leading cancer institutes in the country. We are going to do some neat work together with Huntsman in the future. Second, later today, you're going to meet Dr. Doug Flora, the medical director of St. Elizabeth's Healthcare. They are a very large system in the greater Cincinnati area, northern Kentucky. All right. They provide care to over 315,000 people with over 3 million encounters last year. They're expanding their cancer center to 250,000 square feet in 2020. doTERRA is part of it. I don't want to steal Dr. Flora's thunder, but there's a very important announcement about our long-term relationship that he'll make later today. I count him now as a colleague and a friend. He's a gentleman, and you're going to have so much fun with him. I'm equally excited to introduce to you the University of Mississippi. All right. The University of Mississippi's National Center for Natural Product Research is the only FDA center of excellence for natural product research in the United States. We are partnering with University of Mississippi's National Center for Natural Product Research, that doesn't quite roll off the tongue, to do a lot of the clinical trials I spoke with you about earlier. Later, you're going to hear from Dr. Ikhals, the director of this National Center for Natural Product Research, and he'll detail some of the work that we're going to do together next year and in the future. Intermountain Healthcare, where I came from, is a nationally recognized center for quality and value. This particular system is unique. It's been, I won't go through all the stuff on the slides, but if we all practiced across the United States like Intermountain Healthcare did, Dartmouth did this research and found that Medicare would save over 40% of its costs if we just practiced like the doctors and caregivers at Intermountain Healthcare. I was proud to work for them. They are a wonderful system. Together we are exploring new ways that we can take primary care and evolve it into a truly integrative healthcare system. I'm looking forward to working with them on this and all of you in the future as well. Let's talk a little bit about Prime Meridian Healthcare for a moment. Thank you. Prime Meridian is why I came to doTERRA. The mission that Dave Sterling presented of changing healthcare and integrating healthcare is central to why I'm here. Prime Meridian, however, has a very difficult job. It is trying to take two worlds that are widely separated from one another. Alternative medicine and evidence-based medicine, or the allopathic medical tradition. These two medical traditions, they don't like one another very much. And you know that. It takes a unique allopathic physician to care for you and your families, that will listen and not condescend. Prime Meridian Healthcare is building a truly new integrative health standard from these two medical traditions. This is a complex, difficult task, one that in our 3 clinics that we currently have open, we've learned a great deal from over the last year. we remain committed to establishing a network of clinics across the United States. Currently, our flagship clinic on our main campus at Pleasant Grove, how many of you toured that? We saw so many buses go down. Yeah. It is one of the most beautiful clinical spaces in the state, I believe. It is a stunning space to take care of patients. We look forward to seeing many of you there. And our other clinics in Nashville and St. George have taught us how much work there is to do to take these two worlds and bring them together. We're going to do that work together with you. You'll hear more about that in a moment from my colleague. I want to speak for a moment about advanced preventative care. Advanced preventative care is our care philosophy at Prime Meridian Healthcare. It's more than just a concept. Advanced preventative care, if you can go back one slide, sorry, I pushed that too soon. Thank you. Advanced preventative care takes a typical pre-clinic routine where you fill out forms and sit in a waiting room, and then you wonder if anybody actually read that stuff. It takes that pre-clinic routine and turns it on its ear. All of that work will be done prior to your arrival through a health coach, and that health coach will obtain not only your past medical history, your social history, and your family history, but your diet history, your sleep history, your exercise history, everything that helps you be more well and be more healthy. That information will be gathered and compiled, given to your provider, digested before you come in and sit down. The waiting room is no longer there. You sit down with your provider and the information that is gathered is discussed with you. Strategies are developed with you rather than being dictated to. This process is unique and it requires a great deal of training to do. We're committed to do it. The main reason why we do this is we want to help you decrease your dependence on prescription drugs. Imagine you and your family preventing episodes of illness rather than just dealing with them as they arise. So what can doTERRA healthcare initiatives do for you? Let me show you how these initiatives work together. doTERRA is again going to lead the way by building on a foundation of quality and purity and consistency, by doing clinical research, as we discussed earlier, through scientific collaboration with NCNPR, Roseman University, medical collaborations with St. Elizabeth Healthcare, the Huntsman Cancer Institute, Intermountain Healthcare, and Prime Meridian Healthcare clinics, where we will be able to do some of the studies that we just described. These initiatives will change the way you think about doTERRA and allow you to bring doTERRA to a larger audience, because there will be stories that those people need to hear before they can listen. We will help you learn how to talk about them. To help you do that, I would like to talk to you about something science-y for a sec, all right? For lack of a better term. Let's talk for a second about pharmacokinetics. You can read that or take a picture of it, but pharmacokinetics is basically the science of dosing, and like I said earlier, in the dietary supplement world, the science of serving size. We actually have done some phase 1 clinical trials this year at doTERRA, and I'm going to introduce to you the data right now. Do you want to hear about it? Okay, these are the first phase 1 clinical trials on whole essential oils that doTERRA has ever done, and they are among the first the world has ever seen. So the protocol that I'm describing here was approved through an institutional review board for safety. And we tested the turmeric duocap, which Dr. Hill and Alex DeBell introduced to you yesterday. We tested the copaiba soft gel and lavender capsules in the doses that you can see there. We then gave those doses internally to our colleagues, and then we looked at their blood at the time points that you can see analyzed there over a 24-hour period. We analyzed their blood for the particularly important chemical compounds that you're all familiar with in these substances, in these oils, for the maximum concentration achieved, the minimum concentration, and the half-life. Half-life is how we get at dosing. So here's our first trial. So, turmeric duocap dosing data. What we did is there were 3 phases of the study. The first phase is we gave turmeric oil, only the oil, to a human being. That's the graph that you see on your left. Then we gave curcumin to another group, curcumin powder alone. Then we measured the half-life. Half-life is how long it takes for half the concentration in the blood to drop. And what you see there is turmeric oil had a half-life of 9 hours, and curcumin had a half-life of 14 hours. Now, those of you who have really good eyes can see that on the y-axis, the curcumin is not very bioavailable. How many of you already knew that curcumin is not very bioavailable? Raise your hand if you're a nerd. All right, good. I'm proud of you. So curcumin is not very bioavailable. The third group of patients that we tested, we gave both turmeric oil and curcumin to, and then we looked at their blood. What happened was that the curcumin bioavailability was increased 11-fold. You don't get that, obviously. That's a little more like it. Okay, I hear it. All right, so what we were able to show in this particular trial was that curcumin, which is not very bioavailable on its own, when given in a duo capsule with turmeric oil, curcumin, which has extremely important bioactive effects, increased its bioavailability in the blood 11-fold. That's important information. Good. Copaiba, anyone? Okay, so let's look at what happened when we gave Copaiba. This curve is quite different. You see the dramatic rise as the concentration went from the stomach and through the liver and into the blood, but then you see a 2-phase drop. There's an initial steep drop, and then there's a slow drop. That initial steep drop has a half-life that is 2 hours long, and then it levels out and has a half-life of 12 hours. That's because beta-carophylline, which is what we were measuring in the blood, binds to the CBD2 receptor, and it is falling off, we believe, very slowly off of that receptor. So there's a 2-phase kinetics in beta-carophylline and Copaiba. So we take those two graphs, those 2 slopes, we average them together, and that gives us our half-life of 7 hours. This supports a once-a-day dosing strategy for Copaiba. How do you like that? How many of you want to see lavender? All right. This is actually the curve that I'm most excited about. Lavender essential oil, as you know, contains high concentrations of linalool. Linalool is one of the most important chemical compounds in our essential oil family. And in this particular oil, linalool has a half-life that you can see is quite different than the others. Linalool's half-life is short. It has a half-life of an hour. How many of you knew that? Nobody did. You're the first people in the world to know that. So linalool has a half-life of 1 hour. I'm not going to give you a dosing recommendation for linalool this morning. There's more work to be done. Linalool acetate, as you know, is the other main component of lavender. And there's some very exciting research that we'll share with you in upcoming meetings about lavender. I'm just going to leave you all hanging. I'm sorry, I just get to do it. So, what's happening here at doTERRA? We are now building and giving to you products built upon a foundation of phase 1 clinical trials. I've put that peppermint oil up there because there's existing pharmacokinetic data on peppermint. These products are built upon a foundation of phase 1 clinical trials. And you need to understand this data. This will help you talk to people who need this sort of information before they can hear you and hear what you're saying. The folks at the showcase, Cody Beaumont, and the folks who've helped me do this science are waiting for you. They want to talk to you about it. Go and talk to them and learn how to speak to this data. We will continue to pump this out and change the world of essential oils. We're going to turn it on its ear. So where are we going? We will be doing multiple phased clinical trials. Scientific and medical relationships will be integral to publishing this research and challenging dogma. PMH clinics and providers across the country will give us a network and a platform to do this research. Advanced preventative care will help change people's lives. We will help people prevent illness rather than treat symptoms, and put away prescription drugs when possible. Over the next 10 years for doTERRA, I see these initiatives helping achieve doTERRA's initial vision of putting essential oils, doTERRA essential oils, in every home. Thank you for allowing me to be with you this morning. Very much appreciated. I would now like to introduce Del Brown, my good friend and colleague, partner in crime at Prime Meridian Healthcare. He's going to talk to you a little bit about our clinician network. Del.
Hi, Russ. Wow. What a group. It's so exciting to be here with you. Thank you. The power of community to create health is far greater than any physician, clinic, or hospital. I love that quote. And doTERRA is one such community, unique and powerful. We have here in one large gathering business leaders, healthcare professionals, scientists, agronomists, wellness advocates, philanthropists, many dedicated support personnel, and even a few would-be competitors, all united by our belief in the power of pure essential oils in improving health and wellness. So as a longtime admirer, it is now with honor that I take the stage for just a few minutes to introduce to you a concept with profound implications for healthcare, for patients, for doctors, and for doTERRA. Here are a few realities regarding healthcare in the United States that are important to understand. Per capita spending in the United States is more than twice the average of all other leading nations, and yet our health and longevity are no better. National healthcare expenditure will approach $4 trillion this year, about 18% of the GDP, and 50% of that expenditure is linked to lifestyle-related disease and could be avoided. 64% of Americans lack full confidence in the U.S. medical system. But this is no surprise to you. Our health reimbursement model pays more richly to treat disease than it does to prevent it. Most American doctors are incentivized by throughput and not by outcomes. 20 years ago, my wife developed a serious health issue that for many years could not be diagnosed. Instead of answers, we got drugs. Eventually, we found an expert provider who was willing to listen, who took the appropriate time, and who was finally able to present a diagnosis and a pathway to healing. We learned firsthand that successful outcomes in healthcare require a trusting relationship, mutual respect, and good communication. Sadly, those qualities are in short supply. More than 40% of Americans use and want complementary and alternative therapies, but they are afraid to discuss them with their doctors, and they often feel condescended or belittled when they do. Almost 50% of Americans have used one or more prescription drugs in just the last 30 days, and yet many derive no benefit, and many experience serious side effects. Enter Prime Meridian Health Clinics, where we are developing where we are developing an integrated care pathway to reverse the course of chronic disease and to reduce dependency on prescription drugs. And guess what? We're succeeding in doing that. And we want more people to have access. But building our own clinics takes time. So why not find and work with like-minded healthcare practitioners who already work and live in your communities? So right now, we are in the process of creating a network of preferred healthcare providers who will think like us. They will be generalists and specialists from different backgrounds and training. They will include board-certified physicians, licensed advanced practice providers, dental professionals, and others. They already practice integrative medicine and will recommend doTERRA products. If they don't know about essential oils, they will agree to learn, and we will teach them, and you will teach them. And they will know the difference between smell-good oils that are adulterated and certified pure therapeutic grade essential oils. Most importantly, they will treat you with respect and kindness. They won't be paid by doTERRA, nor will they compete with you by selling doTERRA products. We are working now with candidate providers who over the coming months will be a part of this network, and we will introduce them to you. As our model develops and evolves further, we will also expand in the future with further Prime Meridian healthcare clinics. doTERRA will provide on its website profiles of preferred providers, their location and contact information. Our aim is to have several available within a geographic area so that you can choose or refer someone to these providers based on best fit. So here are a couple of illustrative examples. Meet Dr. Annie Jones, a board-certified family medicine doctor. She'll say on our website, "I've been in practice for 15 years and love family medicine. I've been a long-time proponent of integrative medicine and use acupuncture, massage, and essential oils in my practice to help patients achieve better health and wellness. I welcome the doTERRA community to my practice and look forward to assisting you in aligning your wellness goals." Meet Dr. Doug Baker, a board-certified orthopedic surgeon. I've been in practice for 20 years and found through my patients that doTERRA essential oils could improve preoperative and postoperative care practices. I am eager to help provide a care environment in my clinic and in my hospital where patients who use essential oils will be welcomed and respected. As Prime Meridian Healthcare refines its preventative health and wellness models, we will share them with our network of preferred providers. And we expect that as they interact with you and learn more about the health and wellness benefits of essential oils, that they will also recommend doTERRA essential oils to other patients, others who you might not have been able to reach yourself, others who may have previously been skeptical about the benefits of essential oils, others who will be referred to you to learn more and to become your customers. Thank you for being so kind and welcoming of me. I'd especially like to thank Greg Cook for inviting me earlier this year to learn more about doTERRA. You are indeed a special community and one that I count myself privileged to be a part of. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What did you think when I first brought up essential oils?
Well, you take a breath as the doc and you try and think, what is this patient trying to do? What is the goal here? And you try and put yourself in the patient's place and say, what am I not getting for them? What am I not doing for them that they need? So I had to learn about it. I had to study this stuff myself and understand that what you're talking about is the judicious application of naturally occurring substances to try and make sure that you give your body the best chance to bounce back. We've built a lot of that into our own practice even before now, where people have distress tools and a social worker is involved early. These are viable tools.
And the fact that they haven't been adequately studied yet should just be motivation to study them. We're really excited to have this partnership moving forward. We're really excited to announce that we're forming the doTERRA Center for Integrative Oncology.
Please welcome to the stage St. Elizabeth Healthcare Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Doug Flora.
Goodbye. That's a great video. I want to take a second before I get started and introduce myself and why I'm here in front of you. To point out, that was one of your advocates on that video, and about a year ago we started this journey together as patient and doctor. Nicole Chase is one of your platinum advocates. Yeah, we should applaud her. So I'm going to talk equally about some of the medical stuff and what we're hoping to do as a growing partnership between doTERRA and our healthcare system, but I'm also going to talk about the power of one and what one of you did when she was brave for about 20 seconds and hopefully inspire you to understand the difference that you can make. I think our keynote speaker today was fantastic for setting the stage for what I'm about to talk about. I really didn't know what I was getting into when Dr. Oatsgathorpe and Brannick talked me into coming here. You people are nuts, but you smell really great. I think after watching that video, we're very clear on one thing as a group, that the camera adds 10 pounds, right? All right, so I've got a time limit here. They're timing me. So I'm going to talk today about how we hope to elevate the care of cancer patients across my region and eventually across the country by reframing the way that we talk about caring for cancer patients universally. Obviously, this is a friendly crowd for approaches to holistic and complementary and alternative medicines. I'm a big fan of those. I'm a big fan of using traditional medicines as well. And what we want to do and what we're working very closely with Russ and his team is to make sure we approach these things as scientifically as we can and approach this with the same academic rigor that we would medications as well, to make sure that we're not causing harm in the things that we're doing. And so it's very, very important, and I credit your team. Yeah. So what you may be realizing is how unusual that is, and that's because of all of you out here. The scale of doTERRA has now allowed your leadership team and your owners to spend an awful lot of money doing something that most other companies don't invest in, right? And I know if you're out there, you see the skeptics. I was and am sort of still one until we have strong data on dosing. And the pharmacokinetic stuff you just saw, I nerd out with that stuff. I think it's fantastic. It will come to you guys in a fashion that will make a lot more sense later on. But this is groundbreaking stuff that you're doing here that other companies have not invested in. And so I credit your scientific team. Yeah. From my perspective, what we're trying to do is change the conversation about cancer from the traditional CT scan-based, chemotherapy-based, toxicity-based, what's the matter with you, to something more like what matters the most to you. And we share that vision with Russ and his medical team. Yeah, that's important, right? We forget that sometimes, and I want you to understand the doctors who care for you care about these things too, but the constraints of time and the pressures and our requirements in our contract with our patients to really provide the most evidence-based medicine doesn't mean that we don't care about the other part, but it means we have a responsibility to you to make sure that we keep you safe first. And part of the research and the scientific studies that Russ and his team are putting together to try and answer some of those questions so that your doctors can feel more comfortable and less skeptical. The second part of this, I'm going to talk about your own advocate and the power of involvement and bravery, and how she was so bold that she brought this partnership together and encouraged the 35,000 odd people here today to think, what can you do in your own communities? Let's move on to another slide. So unfortunately, who is Doug Flora and why is he on stage at this convention? Russ already covered, so I don't really have anything else to talk about. Are there any questions? Thank you for your time. Be safe getting home. No. I want to start with my why. Okay, I want to talk about how I came to be here. I'm a cancer patient myself, and I don't know if I've made that clear before. I had a kidney cancer diagnosed October 17, 2017. I went through surgery. I went through all the fear and terror that my patients feel every day. I'm also a practicing oncologist that sees patients in the clinic and understands now from a different perspective dread and fear and anxiety and insomnia.
And those are some of the things that we hope these products may ultimately prove to help with. We don't talk about side effect management. We don't talk about things until they're studied. But the goal here in this relationship is to see if we can use your tools to improve patients' qualities of life. So this is where our story starts. It'll be a long story. This is a long-term relationship, and I'm sure I'll be back to give you updates as this goes on. But the short story, as how I came here, is that we announced on my Facebook page and our St. Elizabeth Healthcare page that we were building this $130 million cancer center. And that we were trying to build this around the patient experience rather than around the providers. And that's a novel approach, as you can imagine. Cancer doctors are busy, and the schedules generally are built to our convenience and not the care of the patients. And we've decided to flip that switch, and we're going to do it a little different in our building. Well, Nicole Chase, your advocate, saw that post and reached out to me with this actual text. And you can't read it, but basically it says, "Hey, what's up? Long time no see. I want to tell you what I do, and I want you to hear about our products, and I wondered if there might be a role for essential oils at St. Elizabeth Healthcare in your new cancer center." And that was about the same time I was asking my own team, how can we take the best possible care of the patient and not just their tumors? And it was a perfect timing, because at that point I really wanted to build something that was different and novel, but I needed help. This is a big project where I live, and I'll show you why. Okay, so I don't want you to think I'm a neophyte. I'm a long-time oil user, but I used to pour it on my fan, which I'm told now isn't cool. I didn't know. Apparently it isn't cool. So when I met Nicole, Nicole came in and shared with me a lot of the scientific literature that she had uncovered. She did a ton of research about this and understood that in our area, we're the lowest, worst tier for cancer patients in the country. Kentucky leads the nation in cancer diagnoses and cancer deaths. We're worst in the country for lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer deaths, stage 4 colon cancer deaths, and it's really desperate. There's a very high degree of smoking. There's a lot of health literacy issues, and we have a very poor population, and they don't get screened the way they should, and so we're working on that. Interestingly and ironically, Utah, where we now stand, is the best place in the country to have cancer at the lowest possible rate, because people here exercise. And obesity is linked to 12 or 13 different cancers. People eat well, and we know food is medicine. People don't smoke and they don't drink, and that's vastly different from where I come from, which is bourbon country, which is one of the best things about Kentucky, but I'll be careful how much I get into that. So anyway, Nicole enters stage left. She comes to my office with reams and reams and reams of paper, and she says, "I know you care about this stuff because you took care of me and you cared about the whole person. How can we use what I know and what you know to get together?" And so that's where that text originated. She replaced that fan with my first kit. It's now diffusing, so I have lemon and breathe and calm and yes. Still lots of lavender. But she taught me about this stuff, and so that evolved from a skeptic to a convert, right? So here. This is a braggy text I sent my wife as if to say, look at me, I'm a big boy, I'm exercising even though you didn't make me today. I don't know if you ever got a text like that from your spouse, but I don't do great at exercising without her forcing me to. And I got home from a 6-mile run and I was dying. I'm way too heavy, way too old to be doing that at my age. I should be walking 1 mile. And so I got home, and Nicole's bottle of Deep Blue Rub was sitting on my counter, and I thought, that seems like that would work well. I hurt everywhere, and this seems like it might help. So I used the whole tube. Yeah. Choose your advocates wisely, because a good advocate would have warned me that there's an appropriate dose and there's a non-appropriate dose. Yeah. So that's me in the middle. That night I lied under the covers for about 45 minutes, just skin simmering, and thinking that was a really, really good burn. Yeah. So lesson number 1, do not use a whole tube. Tell that to your people. And I'm sure Russ is studying that dosing strategy right now. So moving forward a few months, and this speaks briefly to the tenacity and the ferocity of Nicole. She's a force of nature. She knew at that point I didn't have the funding to build the things that I wanted to build. She decided on her own volition to go to Puerto Vallarta to one of your conferences and stalk leadership. So she did. She was at a sandcastle contest, working her tail off, carrying water from the ocean to the castle, and cornered Brannick for what I can only imagine was a very startling experience for him. And I think at the end of the discussion, he said he was either going to take a meeting with me to hear more about this, or he was going to get a restraining order against Nicole. We're glad he went with the first, and then we established contact, and that's where this relationship really started to accelerate a bit. Nicole chased them, yeah, right. Nicole chased more people down at leadership in February, and there seemed to be a growing momentum for, let's have an actual meeting. And eventually we had a telephone conference with myself and Russ and Brannick, and I heard later that Mr. Sterling was brought in without my knowing, and they liked the idea, and I guess the word was go out and meet this guy and see if he's legit. So they came to Kentucky. We had tons of bourbon together. No, I'm just kidding. In fact, Russ claims to be a vegan, and he ordered every piece of meat that was on the menu at the restaurant that night, so vegan. So this is our cancer center in April. This is where we stood. As he mentioned, it's a 250,000 square foot facility, 6 floors. But what's important to this group probably is the first floor, which is now going to be called the doTERRA Center for Integrative Oncology. Right. So this is a big deal because there aren't places like this. And in this building, your signage will be everywhere. There will be acupuncture and aromatherapy and aroma touch and medical massage and mindful meditation. Yep. I will be working out in a yoga studio for the first time in my life. It's not a pretty sight, right? We have a demonstration teaching kitchen to teach people about food being medicine, how to eat healthily to affect their health, both before and during and after their chemotherapies. And maybe most importantly for me, as we try to chase this treating the whole person, not just the tumor, I had funding to hire our first ever director of integrative oncology, and she's fantastic. So moving on a little bit, I'm going to try and stay on schedule. The video that you just watched was filmed a couple weeks ago, and Nicole advised me it was exactly 1 year to the day from when she took me off her chicken list. That's what she calls the list of people she is afraid to call. Do you all have one of those? That's cool. I've never heard that. I'm scared to call everyone. She was brave enough to do it, and she said it was a really big deal for her because I was her treating cancer doctor, and she was encouraging maybe a not traditional route for our cancer center. And she said she actually sent that text that you saw and then threw her phone across the room as if she was going to be able to take it back, which obviously that didn't work. I think it's crazy that we're a year into this now, and we've got a formal 10-year relationship now with doTERRA as we work through these clinical trials, as we work through this center. We're honored for this, and I think for you all, what may be important is that they're challenging the old paradigms of traditional medicine with Prime Meridian by studying the use of essential oils with real scientific rigor, and we're excited to participate in that. As we open this center and we move this process forward, the thing that struck me was that this was the power of one single individual in this room last year, right? That's awesome. So she decided there was a need, there was a problem that needed solved in her community. She recognized that there was an opportunity, and she did bold things, and she was brave. And I would encourage those of you who are in your own communities and your own businesses to look outside of what's typically done and try and stretch that and try and say, what makes me uncomfortable? That's probably the right thing to do. We've already established it's super great and highly encouraged to stalk your leadership at conferences. Emily over there, they're loving that part, right? They're less likely to do restraining orders after this experience. We know now that fans are not diffusers, so we've learned a lot about that. We now know the appropriate dose of Deep Blue Rub is not 1. LOL. And we now know that there's going to be a doTERRA Center for Integrative Oncology in Kentucky at Ground Zero for Cancer. So as I approach my close, I'd like to ask for a minute of indulgence. I'm going to play a 46-second video about this that I think resonates well. This is a message that my children receive at home. It's something that I really believe in. I think it might leave you with an idea where we are right now.
What happened with you and Lily?
I don't know. I guess I didn't listen to something she told me or something. And I liked her. It's like you embarrass yourself if you say something. And you embarrass yourself if you don't.
You know, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage. Just literally 20 seconds of just embarrassing bravery. And I promise you, something great will come of it.
Right? How much cooler would I have been in high school if I knew that rule? So I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. I'm excited to be here and see the spectacle that is this conference. I'm excited for our partnership, and I want to reach out and thank Brannick and Russ for inviting me into their lives as now good friends as we've spent many, many months working through this. And I look forward to coming back in future years and telling you all the good that we've done for these patients. Thank you.
My name's Jennifer Yates. I am a mom of two beautiful children, Eric and Brianna, and I'm a wife to Alan.
You never know, there might be some magic Houdini balancing trick there. It's going that way.
After I had Brianna, I had this beautiful baby girl, healthy, thriving. She was just everything. I didn't realize this overwhelming sadness that I had inside. So I carried that. I carried that for a long time. At that point, I think I was tired. My dad was an alcoholic. The demons had taken over him emotionally, and he felt like he wasn't worthy to be in this world. And so he attempted to take his life 4 times throughout my childhood and adult life. A few years later, I had some health issues come up. I had gone in to seek some help and get some answers, and I was given a prescription, not expecting where that prescription would lead me. I started to take the prescription 2 at a time, 3 at a time, and it escalated. In my mind, I became Superwoman. I felt in control, and I really wasn't. I always knew where I was headed. I knew it was not good, because after a while, you chase a high, and the high's not high anymore. We had Christmas in 2015, just wanted to make it the best holiday I could for my kids. That New Year's Eve, I had taken what I did have on hand, and I overdosed. When you're years of using something for so long, and you become dependent mentally and physically on it, to see that other side of it, it's scary, because you don't know what's coming. You know what it's like because you go through 2 or 3 days without it, and you know what that feels like, and it's hell. It is. I just knew I was, okay, I'm here, I'm in the right place. Like, this is going to be a new chapter in my life, But I struggled every day. I struggled so hard. I struggled to function in a normal way again because I had for 8 years not taken care of my body. I was existing, not living. I was getting up. I was barely making it to my job. I'd come home and I'd sleep. So you put all that together, it's like a recipe for disaster again. You know, you're just like, how do I get out of this? It's like you're chasing your tail, you know? You wake up, it's like Groundhog Day, you do it all over again. You know, where is this, when is this ever gonna break for me? When am I ever gonna get some relief? So I did that for a year and a half. It was a year and a half into my sobriety. And doTERRA was introduced to me. I had decided that I was gonna go back down the path I had just come off of. And I had gone back to a doctor and I had a prescription in hand. And at the time we were broke with no insurance, so I couldn't afford to do both, fill the prescription or join doTERRA. And I joined doTERRA. From that moment on, I haven't turned back. That one split decision in my life, that one decision of which path to take has brought me to where I am today.
So what doTERRA wants to do is provide choices. So today we're going to talk about is the effective, how they're pure, how to use them, and I'm going to go over a few of my favorites. Let me explain to you guys what the difference is when you buy pure.
I remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna be okay. I started to feel the sadness lift. I started to feel the worry wash away. I started to feel this sense of peace, you know? I started to feel again. Today, I'm thriving. Today, I'm 40 years old. I feel the best I've ever felt in my life, and I tell people that because if one person can see the effects and the changes that it could have in their life, it's bringing hope. It's something that's become so important in my life, and that's why I wanted to share my story.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President of Healthcare Initiatives, Dr. Brannick Riggs.
Thank you. What an honor it is to be back here. As my wife and I, Julie, talk about this event in September, we say, this is a great time. We get to have a party with 35,000 of our closest friends. So we sure do enjoy our time that we can spend here. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about prevention. It's something that in the medical field, unfortunately, we don't talk a lot about. But the cost of prevention is this. We spend about $3.5 trillion annually in the US on healthcare. Sadly, 75% of that is spent on disease that could be prevented. That means that needlessly we spend $2.6 trillion every year on things that we could do something about. Dr. Sanjay Gupta is the chief medical correspondent for CNN. He recently did a documentary that I watched called One Nation Under Stress. And I want to show you a short clip from that documentary.
So why are people taking this many opioids? Part of it's prescribing, part of it is becoming addicted. But why are so many people drinking? Why are so many people dying by suicide?
We are operating in a time when we're very, very good at learning about and treating diseases. I think we are less good and less proficient at understanding health.
Are we going to be remembered to have been physicians at a time when life expectancy actually dropped? I don't know. It's a little bit of an existential pain, you know.
The fact of the matter is that I am a physician at a time
in a country where our life expectancy has dropped. This article, taken from Smithsonian.com, says that U.S. life expectancy drops for the third year in a row. This is the longest sustained decline since 1915 to 1918. So let's examine real quick what was going on during that time. World War I started July 28, 1914, ended November 11, 1918. The Spanish flu epidemic, which was the summer and fall of 1918, infected 500 million people across the world. 30% of the world population was infected by the Spanish flu. It killed 20 to 50 million people, more than had been killed in World War I. So we are in trouble. I want to show a quick demonstration as to what this looks like. I thought I would bring it home to this arena. So can I have the house lights up just a little bit? I want everybody in the room to stand up. We've been here now for 2 hours this morning. It's been an amazing morning. But I want everybody to stand up. Okay, so now we're going to go head, shoulders, knees. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. But I want to show you why prevention matters. So here's an overview of the leading causes of death worldwide. Cardiovascular disease, number 1. Number 2 is cancer. And then number 3 is lower respiratory issues. The rest of it is made up of a number of things like trauma, car accidents, some which we cannot prevent. So if we go to the number 1 cause, which is cardiovascular disease, it kills 1 person every 38 seconds in this country. That's 2,300 Americans today. So if the 35,000 people that we have at this convention today represented the population of the United States, statistically we would lose 70 people in the next year. So for emphasis sake, I want to say 5 years. What does it look like in 5 years? So imagine now doTERRA Convention 2024. 5 short years from now. I want the first 22 rows of section 1 right here to sit down. Just right here, folks. You guys stand up. We're talking right here, the first 22 rows. This is the number of people that we will lose by 2024 due to cardiovascular disease. Section 2. This is the number of people that we will lose to cancer. I want the first 20 rows of section 2 right here to sit down. Cancer is the number 1 or the number 2 cause of death in the U.S. 1 out of every 4 deaths in the United States is caused by cancer. About 610,000 patients died in 2018 from this disease process. So again, this first 20 rows of section 2 are the number of people that will no longer be with us in just 5 short years. And lastly, we turn to lower respiratory issues. These are illnesses such as COPD, emphysema, that claims the lives of many people every year, mainly due to smoking. So in the Vivint arena now, section 13 right here, can I have the first 8 rows sit down? Again, the number of people that will no longer be with us in 2024. As you can see, the death rate for these largely preventable diseases is astounding. Just look at those people that we're now missing. Some of them may be friends. Some of them may be family. Many of them are on your teams that will no longer be here. It speaks to the clip that we just saw from One Nation Under Stress that says the physicians are now better at any time in history at diagnosing and treating disease. We have gotten many, many things figured out when it comes to disease processes, but we are very poor at understanding health. So now quickly I want to turn to type 2 diabetes. This is definitely a lifestyle disease. The predictions are that diabetes will continue to rise over the next 30 years. That's as far as we can see into the future of any certain disease process. As we eat more processed foods, we exercise less, and we refuse to address stress in our lives, we can expect that number to increase. We have very good statisticians that have looked at this problem and have seen the picture that I depicted here. This is from the motion picture WALL-E. And these people are on the good ship Insulin and refuse to walk around and refuse to eat healthy. But over the next 5 years, this is the number of people, again, if we represented the US population here at this conference, this is the number of people that will be expected to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes before Convention 2024. Will the whole lower bowl of the Vivint Arena now sit down? This is a sobering thought, and something we can do something about. This is scary if we do not change our trajectory in this country and many others. Now, everyone can now sit down. Thank you for that demonstration. But there is hope. So for the next 30 minutes, we are going to talk about how to present this outcome for us, for our family, and for those that we love. I would like to introduce our panel this morning. Dr. Robin Fawcett is a family medicine physician out of the UK and a member of our medical advisory board. Dr. Greg Woodfill is an OBGYN extraordinaire and is also a part of our medical advisory board. Roxanne Harris is a natural health practitioner, mother of 4, and foster mom to 9 kids. Dr. Heather Pickett, family medicine physician at our Prime Meridian Pleasant Grove location. Carrie Cootie, a pharmacist out of Atlanta, Georgia. And Dr. Tina Wong, pediatrician and mother of 7. Please welcome them to the stage. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. That we saw magic in the little things. We used to look at the sky. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be a fun discussion. You know, as I mentioned in my presentation, we have a work ahead of us. There is much to do in this country and around the world about these statistics. And amazingly, we get to meet with 35,000 people that are about to do that work as we have a passion to do that work as well. So Robin, I'd like to start with a question for you. You not only have a medical degree, but you also have a master's degree in medical history. So what can you tell us about how human diseases have changed over time and how prevention may play a role in that?
Sure. So the history of medicine shows us that human health has really experienced tremendous changes in the last 100 years or so. So the average life expectancy in 1900 was just 45, which is kind of hard to get our heads around, especially for those of us in our 40s. And the major cause of illness and death back then was infectious diseases. But throughout the 20th century, we saw huge improvements in sanitation. I mean, sewers had a huge impact on human health. Nutrition.
Someone's
education.
excited about sewers.
I know. I'm like, woo!
Woo! Go sewers! That's awesome. I love it.
Education, nutrition, all these things contributed to seeing our life expectancy increase, and of course, advances in medicine and surgery as well. But with that transition, as you described, as our life expectancy increased, we started seeing a very different picture of the diseases that people were living with and dying from. And so we had this transition away from people dying of smallpox and influenza epidemics to this rise in non-communicable diseases. And this is not just a US a European crisis. This is worldwide. This is even in the developing world. The World Health Organization has identified non-communicable diseases as the #1 threat to our health. And as you described, things are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Life expectancy now in the UK is also showing signs of dipping. It's not just the US. But the good news is there's a lot that we can do as individuals, but particularly in our communities, as a society, to address some of the social determinants of health and our unhealthy lifestyles.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading a study in which it was talking about where fast food goes, these preventable diseases also go. And so as countries become more developed and they have that lifestyle where I don't have time to make food, I don't have time to sit at home and do those things, then that sort of a lifestyle really brings to it these challenges within that system. Dr. Wong, you're a pediatrician. Why is preventative care so important in that age group, in our children?
Right. Children are our future, and we want them to start off in the best way possible. So the 3 areas of health that I stress are #1, eating, #2, exercising, and #3, sleeping. So for the first, we want them to eat, and us to eat 5 to 10 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables a day. And so that means having a fruit or vegetable at every meal. So for my kids, after they have a fruit with their breakfast, I'm chopping up vegetables and fruit for a platter for them to snack on. And we take the A to Z chewables, a teaspoon of IQ Omega. That's for my younger ones. My older ones, we do the LLV. And then they get a reward after that with the PB Assist, because that tastes so good.
Right.
So,
That's nice.
and then water is so important for our cells to function properly. Even mild dehydration can lead to constipation, headaches, and then tantrums. So we don't want any of that. And so how much is enough water? Well, this is where I homeschool, so this is where the homeschool math comes in. Okay, I say go weigh yourself. Okay, so little Peter comes back, he's 5. I weigh 50 pounds, Mom. I said, okay, divide that in half. Half is 25. 25 ounces of water a day is what you need, Peter. That's about 3 glasses of water. Now that's hard for a little guy to keep up with, and for me too. So I say, you know what, your hydration can be based on the color of your urine, really. So you want to make sure that your urine is not apple juice colored, but clear or lemonade colored. And the other part I want to talk about is exercise. We want to try to have an hour of exercise a day, outdoor preferably. And so I'm a pediatrician. I always talk about safety. If your kids are on wheels, they need a helmet. Okay, if they're outside in the sun, they need a hat, sunscreen. doTERRA, please. Have some sunscreen. Okay. And thirdly, I live in Los Angeles. We're around a lot of water. The movies, they portray drownings to be a loud incident, but it actually is a silent killer, and they go down, and so it's really important to watch our kids when they're in the water. And so when they're active, they tend to get injuries too, muscle aches and pains. So that's where doTERRA comes into. We love the Rescuer blend. We love Deep Blue Rub. And another thing that is a barrier to exercise is screens. Screens are just a huge epidemic for our youth. I see it all the time in the office. Take the screen away from a child, they become impatient, irritable, combative, and that is an indication of a screen dependence or even screen addiction. So as a family, every family needs to come up with
Absolutely.
a family media plan. I say sit down, figure out what times of the day media is not allowed. Not during sleep, not during homework, not during meal times, and what zones. You can't be texting in the car when you're driving, things like that. And something we strive for as a family is less than 2 hours of media a day. And something that has been very grounding and refreshing for our family is 2 months out of the year, we take a media fast. And that's been really great for us.
That's fantastic.
So.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
The last pillar of health is sleep. And interestingly, in sleep, our cells repair and our cells rejuvenate and growth hormone is released. So if our children aren't getting 8 to 12 hours of sleep a day, their growth may be stunted. They may not be reaching their growth potential. So I advocate for a good sleep routine. Typically, we brush our teeth with On Guard toothpaste. We head into the room. We're diffusing Serenity. We're reading a book and putting Calmer on our feet. And then we love to do immunity boosts with Stronger and On Guard oil. And so these are the things that we do. And our children are our future. So we really want to invest in healthy habits for them.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Tina. You know, one of the things that Julie and I did, we noticed that we were missing some connections with our children, and so we try to, at night before bed, give them a massage. They get in, change in their pajamas, we massage their legs and their back, and use some of the oils, whatever we feel is going to be helpful for them with the challenges that they have today. But it gives us an opportunity to touch them, which sometimes in a busy day, you miss that opportunity, and also gives you an opportunity to connect with them one-on-one, ask them those hard questions, and be able to have that be their last few minutes before bedtime at night. It's been wonderful.
Beautiful.
So recently I've been on my own journey, as we all are. Even as physicians, we learn things and things come up in our lives where we have to change our lifestyle. And I've been studying meditation and mindfulness on my own. And it has been an amazing journey. I'll be honest with you, it was Elena Brower in a convention a few years ago that did that meditation with all of us, and it was amazing, yeah, to feel the room, right? It just changed. And so since then, I've been working on that. One of the things that I've run across is this idea of preventative mental health, which isn't something that we commonly talk about in our medical arenas, right? It's not something that we address really head on. But we're beginning to see why it's so relevant. So Roxanne, what things do you do to decrease or to minimize stress in your day-to-day life?
I love this question because I think I've not met anyone that doesn't need to up-level their mental emotional health. And I want to preface it a little bit because I think what's happened is we've created a very fast-paced society where we are completely activity-driven and social media-driven. And because of those factors, I believe we've also created two conditions that I lovingly call busyitis and its counterpart, overscheduling syndrome. And these two aspects have actually really contributed to the level of stress that people are seeing because we feel like we're on call 24 hours a day. And I really agree with what Dr. Wong was sharing, that we have to be able to unplug. We have to be able to stop and smell the roses. And many years ago, I taught my children this, and in front of our house is a huge hedge of roses. And we would be so late. I mean, all those kids, we were late all the time. And we'd be all running out the door, and I would stop, and I would scoop up a rose, and I would smell it deeply. The kids would be screaming, "Mom, we're late." And I'm like, no, you always have to stop and smell the roses. And so my takeaway for that is really, we've got to unplug. We've got to smell the roses. And when I say smell the roses, I mean engage with your life. I mean engage with the people around you, with your relationships. Pay attention to what's happening. When we engage, we experience more pleasure. And when we have more pleasure, we produce more feel-good hormones in our body, which allows us to counteract stressful situations and environments. And one of the things that I coined about 10 years ago in my practice is something called rejuvenating rest. Now, rejuvenating rest does not mean taking a nap.
I was hoping, I was so hoping, because my wife is right over there.
I love that. If you do want to take a nap, the studies actually show that it has to be 12 minutes or less. Because that way
Honey, plug your ears, if you would.
It doesn't disrupt your sleep-wake cycle. But this rejuvenating rest is something that really is great for the adrenals and the autonomic nervous system to reboot. It's that one or two things, activities, that you do that light you up, make your heart sing, make your soul just soar, but make you come alive. And I found clinically that most people only have one or two things that does this for them. And that most people, that's the last thing that they do as they age. They just simply don't make time for it. But I've also found that the majority of women not only don't know what that rejuvenating rest is, right? They've just totally forgotten what lights them up completely. And it's the furthest thing, because everything and everyone else is more important. And I just, 1 hour a week, guys, that's all you need. To that, my personal routine since doTERRA was introduced to me has been, after my time of prayer in the morning and again before I go to bed, balanced soil on the bottom of my feet. We have to do it. It's so grounding, and it really helps increase oxygenation, helps our bodies to detoxify. I add citrus bliss to it because, I mean, it's yummy. It's super yummy. It's uplifting, makes me feel good. And then I take a drop or two of Serenity and I rub it up and down my breastbone, because I have a job that can be a bit intense, right? And so I find this keeps me very calm and stable throughout the day. And the other thing is, we can't underestimate the benefit of diffusing. I think we don't talk about it enough. Diffusing all day to support our mood and our emotions, because our limbic system is so responsive to the aromatic compounds. And so I invite you guys, have a diffuser in every room, right? Always have your favorite oils there that you can put on and really help with managing your stress.
That's beautiful, beautiful, and so very important. Thank you. So Dr. Pickett, you've had a career dealing with all sorts of different things, served for many years in the Air Force as a flight surgeon, dealing with our flight boys, right? So in your experience, what do you see as a pearl that people can take home that can have a huge impact on their overall health?
Catching some serious Z's. Sleep. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Not right now, please, but I have had an incredible career in the military and medicine, and and I want to shout out, 9/11 was yesterday, to all my fellow military vets and first responders. I love you. Thank you for your service. But part of our life in the military, or in life now, but is deployments, it's combat, it's going back and forth between continents constantly. And especially with aviation medicine, something that I was able to do a large part of my career in, is crew rest, is making sure the pilots can rest without any interruption in order for them to fly. I had to make sure that they were getting at least 12 to 15 hours of uninterrupted rest. And I remember years ago going, why don't we do that in medicine? Why did I just do 120-hour work weeks in my medical training? Fortunately, because of the studies of NASA and the Air Force on sleep deprivation and the effect that it has on our brain and on our processing, the medical community has taken note, and now we do have duty hour restrictions for new residents in training, because physician safety, but more importantly, patient safety is so critical. And impaired physicians are a reality. And this is something I'm passionate about, because I'm hoping that Prime Meridian can make a difference with that. So something that Dr. William Dement, one of the leading Stanford researchers for sleep, has said, ignorance is the most critical sleep disorder. Not understanding the effect of sleep on our bodies, on our mental health, on our physical health, and we've all addressed it. It was addressed yesterday. But it still amazes me when I have patients who come in complaining of fatigue. We talk about the main complaint, whatever the issue is. We finally get down to how much sleep are you getting a night, and it's usually 4 to 6 hours. But that's the lowest priority because of our life. So not even in an extreme environment like the military, like Roxanne said, like Tina said, we are a 24/7 society. I am old enough to remember the days, remember the gray screen when you were done watching TV at 11 at night. the fuzz, and then it'd play the national anthem, and then everything would go away. And you're like, okay, I gotta go to bed, right? No longer, 24/7, you can watch whatever you want, on whatever you want, wherever you want, binge watch, nonstop. We know that those blue screens, we know that the light has an effect on our melatonin, has an effect on our pineal gland, has an effect on our hormones. And I think the biggest thing is we all know it consciously, but in our busy life, what do? We put that as the lowest priority. And what you said, Roxanne, about the restorative rest, but I am going to put another plug for power naps. If people are in a position where they're traveling global circadian rhythm dysfunction, I actually talked to a lot of my commanders in the military about this. I tried to push for little nap rooms in the squadrons, didn't go over that well. But if we could try for them, getting strategic power naps, if you get the 12 to 15-minute nap, it can restore you to your pre-sleep deprivation state for at least 2 to 3 hours. And I talk to patients about that, and I talk to colleagues about, they're like, there's no way, I can't nap. But guess what? We have a tool that we can use that can help us, essential oils. And even just having those with you, being able to use the Serenity, being able to use grounding oils like vetiver can make such a difference. One thing I really want to emphasize, what are the preventive diseases that we may not be exposed to if we get proper sleep? Cardiovascular disease. I mean, Columbia just had a study out. How much lack of sleep affects your blood pressure, increases your risk for cardiovascular disease. Another women's health study increases the risk for cardiovascular disease with sleep loss. Diabetes is on the rise, increased risk for metabolic dysfunction and diabetes with sleep deprivation, obesity, and the obesity-related diseases such as sleep apnea, hypertension, hyperlipidemia. And then so much of what we've been talking about here, mood disorders. We know mental health issues are on the rise. And we know when you physiologically do not have enough sleep, your neurons are not talking to each other. They are not lighting up like Nicole's beautiful slide yesterday. They are not lighting up. When you're in a sleep-deprived stage, you can be like chronically drunk, and people may not realize that. We have laws about drunk drivers, but what laws do we have about sleep-impaired drivers? And so these are things that we have to realize. What if we do get enough sleep? What things can we possibly prevent?
That's great. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate that. So, Carrie, as a pharmacist, what areas do you feel are most important to look at when thinking of preventative care? You got some fans. This is awesome. That was great.
Woo! This is surreal. Well, I believe that you really have to look at what you're doing or not doing every single day. It really comes down to our habits, and they tell a story. So if you're looking at your story right now and you're reading it and you don't like the way that it is, you have to look before and see what clues. There's always clues that you can look at. And I find that doTERRA's wellness pyramid is a great guide for us. Just to think about what we eat, the way we move our body, resting and managing stress, like you just said, and the adaptive products are amazing for this. I'm so excited about those. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. Also, our toxic load, that's another place as well. And I find that people really get overwhelmed with this. So I just say, start somewhere. You have to pick one area and really take upgrades in that area every day, see changes, and you'll be amazed at the ripple effect that will take place. So as a pharmacist, I saw so many people that were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And who really wants to see their pharmacist at that point, right?
Right.
Like, nobody was really happy to see me. And after years of that, my heart's desire was to give them a different way, to show them there was a different way to take care of themselves so that they could take things into their own control and that they could take preventative measures to maybe not see me as much and feel better and maybe not feel so sick and tired all the time. And I just wanted to take a moment also to speak to the ladies in the room. I know that there are there's a lot of ladies here, and I find that we need to remember how to mother ourselves, right? We're so good at taking care of everybody else, but we get the scraps. And it doesn't serve anybody. If we're not showing up at our best self, then who wins from that?
So look to, you know, as you go home, look to what you can do to really focus on one area. Take some time for yourself. And what I feel is really going to move this preventative movement forward is if we learn, we apply, and then we teach others how to do the same.
Perfect. Thank you, Carrie. So, Greg, are there any trends in patients that you've been seeing or trends in healthcare that are either concerning for you or encouraging for you?
Yeah, well, first I want to say I'm privileged to be here with all of you and all of you today. But yeah, the trends that are concerning are the trends that you're highlighting, the death rates, the preventable death rates, the somewhat of knee-jerk response of medicine. The thing that comes to mind mostly for me is the World Health Organization study that came out in around 2000, where we stopped everything, giving women in menopause, treating symptoms, doing this. And we found out it was one of the most flawed studies that was put out. But in medicine, we tend to do that. In my field today, we're inducing labors at astronomical rates, gestational hypertension, preeclampsia. Everybody's being induced 37 to 39 weeks, and they're coming out with more studies saying to induce everyone at 39 weeks is just safer. The hands-on approach and the interventional approach, those are concerning to me. What do I see as the bright side? This, everybody here, the things we're talking about today, I think that's the change, the integration of alternative, right? Complementary medicine and making it just medicine. That's the bright side. That's exactly how we can reduce exactly the lower bulb all sitting at the end of your speech. We need to reduce that. And how do we do it? Everything you're talking about are brilliant. Everything is wonderful. All these things we're saying. Lifelong vitality. Everybody on this planet should take it every day. The dual caps, the turmeric dual caps, everybody should take that every day. Everybody should also be using Digestin routinely. They should be using the probiotics every day. There's so many, I talk to my patients and I put in a daily use, a routine use, and an intermittent use for all of the natural products that doTERRA makes. And I think those are the ways we're going to reduce these high death rates and young age death rates, including cancers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So as we see patients and we make recommendations, patients quickly get overwhelmed with the number of things that we're asking them to change about their life. So quickly, I just want to go around the panel here and ask, what is one simple thing that anyone can do for prevention that they will quickly feel the difference if they do that? Let's start over here.
Increase your intake of fruit and vegetables. Sorry, I get to go first, so I'm like, yes. It's going to be harder at the end. But yeah, increasing your intake of fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
I think it makes a really quick impact on how people feel in their bodies and even emotionally.
Perfect. Greg?
Lifelong vitality and increase greens.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Roxanne?
I agree with those, but I'll also say increase water. 1.5 to 2 quarts of water. In Canada, that's liters, every day, because water is required for every function in the body.
Perfect. Thank you. Tina, be thinking because they're hitting all the big ones. It's tough. Heather?
I have more.
Topical aromatic internal application at night of one of the products, Serenity Sleep Gels, Serenity to be diffused, Rose to be diffused to help with your sleep, like Emily talked about, and grounding oils to put on the bottom of your feet and over your heart points, vetiver, lang lang, any of the new oils.
That's great.
That's exciting.
Thank you. Carrie?
They stole all my answers, so just kidding. I'll go with a 10-minute walk. It's amazing when we get our body in motion, the things that really come up for us, and it's a way to release as well.
moving. That's great. Thank you. All right, Tina.
I'd say exercise. Exercise is detox.
Yeah.
With stress, you're sweating through your skin, so it's physical too.
Right. You know, just to tie this up, one of the things that as I am out in the world and I get to meet each of you and talk with you, particularly as we talk about Prime Meridian, one of the things that is commonly said to me is, Dr. Riggs, I don't really need to see a doctor. I'm never sick. And unfortunately, that's the way that we've been programmed to think, right? The physicians are there when we're ill. But my counter to that is, what better time to see a physician is when you are well, so that we can take the time to maximize that wellness and help it last as long as it possibly can, rather than come to us when it's too late often or when the wheels have already fallen off the wagon. That's really what we should be about.
Amen.
So thank you all for joining us on our panel. You guys were amazing. Can we give them a hand? And thank you. You guys did great.
Please welcome your founding executive, Greg Cook.
All right, well, the challenges of going last. People are hungry. People have lunch meetings and appointments. I won't take it personally. Except you. Why are you leaving? Wow. What a morning. You guys like it? All right. Our time is spent, so I'm going to move quickly. But I'm on adaptive. I hope I can go faster. I really am. It's good stuff. Okay. Now that we've all had our adaptive, let's go into a deeper understanding of what we've learned here today. That's my topic. I don't know if you'll get a deeper understanding from me, but what you will get is another perspective. So, you've heard a lot about our healthcare initiatives today, right? So what does that mean to you now as we move forward? Some of you are interpreting these initiatives as, you know, wow, that was really interesting. I'm so glad I came. Some of you are like, oh, yes, finally. I've been waiting years to know how much copaiba to use. We're all getting different things from the messages today. So let me give you another perspective. In the early days of doTERRA, we didn't have all of this research and all of this. We just had a lot of intuition. Now, intuition is really important to me. But when I look to my friends, the people who I live with, the people I talk to every day, they don't believe my intuition. And so I hope that today you've been empowered with data, with research, with information that will allow you and empower you to go out and change the world. Is that clear? My dad's here. He's a Ph.D. in psychology. 11 years ago, he was like, oh, woo-woo, what's my son doing? So today when Dr. Osgathorpe presented, he's like, that's my kind of guy. I like that guy. I'm like, I'm your son. There's people that still need research. There's a part of their brains that just work that way. And it took us 11 years or longer to get Russ Osguthorpe on this stage. So use the information that we have. There is what we call a blue ocean of opportunity. If I can advance my slide. There's a blue ocean of opportunity, and it's never been bigger, it's never been deeper than we have today. You guys, in the grand scheme of things, are our early adopters. You're still our early adopters. Congratulations. You're people, and I'm people who pay attention to things that are happening around us. Our evidence comes from things that we see that are happening around us. For me, it was my wife and my kids. I couldn't ignore what was happening. Eventually, I had an issue with pain that no prescription could solve. A little melaleuca, a little lavender, and I was all in. That's evidence for us, but people still need more evidence. Sometimes, before we can get to this blue ocean of opportunity, we get stuck in red ocean. Now, I don't have time, I'm not going to go into this whole diatribe about this, but you just need to understand that that what you've learned today, the information that you've seen, the panel that we've experienced, basically is creating new ocean. What you heard today is information that no one else is doing. And why are they not doing it? Because they can't. It's not because they can't do it. No one can do what you just heard is being done. Okay? So, sometimes at doTERRA we get stuck. Lawsuits, testing of products by competitors, government regulations. I don't know how many people have come up to me and said, "Oh, can we still tell our stories?" Yes, you can still tell your stories. That's who we are. You just have to do it in the right way. Okay? Don't let government intervention, don't let IT problems bother you and distract you, okay? There's so many opportunities. What I've learned to be successful in life, you need to spend maybe 20% of your time dealing with negatives, dealing with defensive activities. But you need to spend at least 80 to 90% of your time on offense. Get out there and talk about this and share and really be who you are and who you are meant to be. Now, whenever we talk about these blue ocean strategies, we talk about who. I'm so grateful. I'm just going to highlight, we just had Brannick Riggs. He's part of this team and leading this team, but I want to just highlight Russ Osguthorpe coming on board since last year. He's awesome, right? He's just getting started, okay? He's still in his journey. He'll get there. We have Dr. Hill, and you met Del Brown. These are the kinds of people that only will come to a company like doTERRA because of who we are, because of our integrity, because of the character, because of the friendships, because of the trust that they have in us. And this is tremendous trust that we have. So whenever we start with these grand initiatives of changing the world at doTERRA, we always start with who? People ultimately make all the difference in this. That's why we do what we do. So here we have Russ Osguthorpe, amazing individual, tremendously well-trained individual, doing things that no one else can do. We have Del Brown coming on board and being a part of this whole new healthcare wellness revolution. Del and I have known each other for a long time, but he didn't come here. I introduced him, but he came because of all of you. He came because of our executive management team. The normal process is Dave and Emily and Corey, they always come up and Dr. Hill will say, we need to do this. Who's going to do it? Well, who have we got? And if we don't have somebody, we go and find them. And then we bring them in, and they go through this process of meeting Dave and Emily and Dr. Hill and these one-on-one interactions. That's how we recruit people. It's how they feel once they've seen the whole big company picture. It's awesome, and I love it. I love being a part of it. It's why I'm a part of this. I'm so grateful to be part of doTERRA. Part of our secret sauce, part of the blue ocean that no one else can duplicate or replicate is our servant leadership example. You've seen so many examples of servant leadership, haven't you? I mean, when I think about Dr. Hill, I think about how many people I've seen him putting oils on one by one. Let me give you another example of a great servant leader in doTERRA. Last year, we had a special guest. Do you remember? Well, I learned from Emily I just need to put it on my vision board. So, he's back. We have a rock star back with us again this year. You're thinking Hugh Jackman? I do keep secrets better than Emily, for sure. But I have a rock star back from last year. Would you all please help me welcome Mr. James Kigo.
Thank you, Greg.
James, welcome back.
Thank you, Greg. Thank
so
you.
Good to have you here with us.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Could you give us an update on what's happening with pink pepper? We were all so touched last year when you talked about that. Can you give us an update of what's happening?
Yeah, pink pepper continue to thrive in Kenya, and the harvesters continue to work together to bring these amazing raw materials to the factory for distillation. Some of you will remember the video last year, the Rede, Veronica, and Lucy, and they continue to harvest the seed, and they have taken a very important role in quality control of the seed. Moisture content is a very important component of harvesting and buying of pink pepper. We have equipped both Veronica and Lucy with moisture meter, which they are testing from hundreds of harvesters who bring the seed to them before they are shipped for processing. One challenge with pink pepper in Kenya is that the trees continue to grow very old, and we don't have very good program of replacing those trees. So we have partnered with one of the local nurseries, and they are propagating seedling, which we are issuing to schools in the community. They are planting in their compound for beautification, and they can earn an income when the trees are mature. So, the story of co-impacting sourcing in Kenya continue to grow. And I'm very excited to continue working in some of these projects which are impacting smallholder farmers in Kenya.
Thank you, Kigo. It's so great to hear that Veronica and Lucy have been promoted to quality control. So many people's lives have been changed, and we have a much more secure supply of pink pepper, thanks to you and your work.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Now, Kigo, before you go, there's something different about you. What's different about you? Did you lose weight?
No, Greg.
What happened?
I can now walk without a walking stick.
Oh, how did that happen, Kigo? Tell us.
Last year I came to the convention and I was talking about pink pepper, and immediately I got out of the stage. I was told that the teller wanted to do something to help.
So doTERRA, you got a message and we wanted to help you, and then what happened?
Well, I had polio when I was 3 years old, and that time the vaccine in Kenya was not widely available. And since then, I haven't been able to use my right leg fully, and I had to walk with the support of a walking cane. So you saw some doctors while you were here at the last convention, right? Correct.
And they understood that there was going to be some work that could be done to help you.
Yeah, together with a number of experts, we explored different options that could be done to my leg, and we ultimately settled to pursue the careful brace. I flew to the UK for an extended period.
I think we have video of that, Kigo. We just happened to get video of you going to the UK and getting some medical treatment and walking without a cane for the first time. Could we show that video?
Yeah. I flew to the UK.
That's a picture of you. Everybody can see walking out with Emily last year with your cane.
Yes, and I was able to meet some medical team, the Duanse and Haga group, who casted my right leg, and they made a customized carbon fiber brace, which helped me now to walk without a cane, and it frees off even my heart, and I can shake hands with people.
Yes, you can shake hands with people.
Yes, and even
high fives.
Both hands when I'm talking to people. It also relieves pressure from my left leg, which has been carrying my body for all those time, and even from my hip. It's incredible. It's quite amazing that I could walk after all these years. Thanks to doTERRA. Thanks.
Thank you, Kigo.
Thank you, thank you.
What a great example you've been. You've helped so many other people, and finally some goodness came back in this small way to help you with your life as well. And I understand that your family is excited for the progress as well.
So much. For the first time when I came back from UK, I was able to hold my daughter, who is now 9 years old, on both my hands.
The things we take for granted. Kigo, thank you. Thank you for being such a shining example of goodness and kindness that we've talked about. And we're so grateful that you would come all the way from Kenya and give us such a great update. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank everybody. Thank you.
As soon as you saw the video of him walking up on stage last year, and as soon as he did, I got a text message, and the other executives, it was shared quickly with the other executives. We can cure that. And it was Dr. Osgathorpe, who was just visiting. He said, "Why is he walking like that? We can fix this." And I was just talking with Emily. I said, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could provide health care for all of our growers around the world? Wouldn't that be awesome? We do so much already, but there's so much more to be done. But this example that the executives and doTERRA, we're so grateful for Tim Valentiner and Taylor McKay, who have worked with Kigo over the last year to get him the care that he needs. And the care that he received was from a group called the Hanger Group, and they actually are in the UK. They're experts in this area, and they donated all of their time to help Kigo for free. So Kigo doesn't know this yet, but we're donating $10,000 from doTERRA Healing Hands to the Hanger Group in his name. Ever since we became chiefs in Africa, we've had a special responsibility to take care of our African brothers and sisters. This was back in the day when we opened up a medical clinic in Ghana. I believe there's more to all of this than we know and what we give ourselves credit for. It's not up to us. There is a mission. When we talk about a mission of these essential oils, it really does exist. Thank you all for being a part of it. I look forward to the rest of the convention. Thank you.
I just wanna be part of